Hello, welcome in. We're just about at kickoff. Tonight's D3 football game between Carleton College and Macalester College. It's the annual Tilt for the Book of Knowledge. My name's Cormac Seeley. With me, Josh Ortiz. New face in the booth. Josh, you had a couple of games in your past that you've been up here, but you got a tough act to follow up from Nick McMullen over the last 4 years.
I'm really looking forward to it.
Josh and I are very, very proud Macalester grads 2005. And there's the kick from Macalester. Orange uniforms kicking off to the left to Carleton. And Carleton will pick the ball up and return it to the 19-yard line. That's where their drive will start.
Nice kickoff by, I understand, they call him Showtime, Henry Chaussee.
That's good. Henry, if I remember from last year, Henry's got some pretty good flowing locks out the back. At least last year he did. Now, he might have found some spare change for a haircut.
Perhaps that's why he earned the moniker Showtime.
Showtime, exactly. The Scots will start on defense. This is the realm, Josh, of somebody that we had a chance to play some baseball with at one point in time, but he's also a good football player for Mac. Marshall Mullenbach, defensive coordinator for the Scots. Kind of runs that side of the ship under Tony Jennison, who runs the helm overall for the Scots. Carleton drops back pass. A little bit of a slant route over the middle. Nice catch. Gang tackle by the Scots at the 40-yard line, but right off the bat, a 21-yard completion will get the chains moving.
It was a great throw. Receiver found a good spot, found some space, and he was hit really well with a strike from the quarterback. So, I mean, a great way for Carleton to come out right out the gates with a huge gain.
Carleton will get set again. They got three wide receivers on the far side, one on the near side. Only 5 linemen. That's a spot you'll see the Scots in as well when they get to offense. There's that little bit of kind of a bubbly screen out to the top in that trips formation. And that's ahead for a 9-yard gain.
It looks like Carleton's going to come out and try to spread this thing out and try to get some of their athletes the ball and get into some space. And Macalester's going to have to do a really good job of pursuit if they're going to do that and flow to the ball.
There's a quick snap. And again, that little bubble screen out to the top. That's caught by Carleton, far side of the field, and number 3, Mac Jernell, Stevens Point wide receiver. That's a good little segue. New coach for Carleton, Tom Jernell, might be Mac's dad.
Perhaps. Maybe that's why he went there.
Why he went there, exactly. Tom Jernell taking over the Carleton program. It's his first year at the helm. Scott said this was going to be a tough one for them to scout just with a brand new coach in play. There's another throw top side, and Carleton in a rhythm.
Well, it's the third time in a row they put the ball in Jernell's hands, and again, it just looks like they're getting it to their athletes in some space out on the corner and just see if they can make a defensive player miss and get a big chunk.
So now they've kind of flipped the field. You've got the 3 wide receivers to the near side, which is the wide side of the field. Still one running back flanking the quarterback for Carleton. There's that throw out of the outside. This time the Scots read it. And Andrew Smith with the tackle for the Scots.
Smith did a great job closing on that. At some point, though, I wouldn't be surprised if Carleton, faked that throw and ran a stop-and-go pattern, because now you're going to have the safeties cheating up a little bit to make that play. So we'll keep our eye out for that.
So now that's a big stop for the Scots. It brings up 3rd and 6. And, Carleton successful plays like 4 in a row, and then all of a sudden now you're in this 3rd and 6. Feels a little bit out of place. There's a fumble, ball on the ground, and ball's on the ground again, picked up by Carleton, it looks like, but good pursuit.
I think we had a defender in the neutral zone there at the snap, and I think Mac's going to get hit with a 5-yarder here. It's not going to quite be enough for the first down, doesn't look like, but it's going to negate an otherwise pretty darn good defensive play.
And so that's going to be a 5-yard penalty on the Scots. It's still, like I said, not enough for a first down. Carleton's still going to have to earn it.
But if you're Carleton here, you can try a lot of things. I mean, this is 4-down territory. I don't know that they're going to try to kick from here, so they could take a shot at something big here, thinking, hey, we can get a yard on 4th down if we needed to.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, this is one of the places where D3 football is a little different than D1. The kicking game is just a bit different. Most of the time you don't have kickers able to get that kind of range. Good pursuit by the Scots, but it looks like Carleton will, on a second effort,
close. It's going to be real close.
Get that first down. Good gang tackle by the Scots again to bring down the ball carrier. I think, Josh, Scots.
I thought it was closer than that, but they waved the chains pretty quickly.
Josh, we can talk about this a bit more down the road. I'm sure it'll come up. Josh and I were both on the chain gang. It's always interesting how some of these decisions are made about first down and go. This early in the game, the officials kind of want to keep the flow going a bit. Carleton drops back. There's a crossing pattern. And number 2. And for Carleton, that's going to be Emmanuel Williams with the catch. He's got a gain of about 8.5. It's going to set up second and very short.
That's going to be hard for the Macalester defense to do much about it. If they don't get pressure, I talked to Coach Jennison, they want to bring pressure, but they're going to play zone behind it. So there you see a spot in the field wide open because they weren't in man, and the receiver just found the zone, the soft spot in the zone.
There's the throw outside quickly, and receiver stumbles after the catch. It looks like it'll be enough for the first down, but just barely. Carleton, with the way they're throwing these quick outs, it's almost like the running game, right, Josh? I mean, they're essentially, it's like an extended handoff for them.
Yeah,
at
some point in the recent future, the game shifted more towards this, where they don't hand the ball up, but they throw 2-yard routes, and again, just trying to get the ball into their skill players' hands. And if they can do it in space, there's less guys to make miss versus trying to run it, through the tackles, between the tackles.
There's a snap, drop back, look to the right side, throw to that back shoulder. Good defense by the Scots, even better catch by Carleton. And that's going to be out of bounds at the 1.5-yard line. Catch made by number 82, Fletcher Metz.
Andrew Smith had a hand in there, and he met him right as the ball got there. I thought he made a great defensive play, but the receiver he was a little bit stronger and held on to it a little bit stronger than Smith could pull it out.
Carleton lined up first down, first and 2 to go. And Scott's do a nice job stuffing the ball carrier. Looks like a loss of 1 on the play.
Getting the big fellas involved. That was number 69 there, the bottom of the pile. John Newton kind of grabbed on and didn't let go and waited for his friends to come over and help clean it up.
Scots have that funny offensive line shape. Newton might be, I think, the shortest guy on the line. He's got that sort of plug in the middle at the nose tackle position.
He comes in at 6'1", 246.
3 wide receivers far side. Running back shifts to the right side for Carleton. There's the snap, drop back, looking right. Hits the running back out of the flats. Scott's not quick enough to step up and stop it, and Carleton gets the first points on the board, 6-0. They've got a lead after 10-14. And we'll take another look at it. As you can see, Macalester just not quick enough covering the running back in the flats to the right side.
Yeah, it seemed like maybe they were in a man at that spot, and that was number 59, Patrick Haley, who was coming over to maybe to cover the running back, but he just got there a bit too slowly.
Carleton will line up for the extra point. Kicker is Chertoff. There's the kick. Scott's had a good run at it. Kicks up and good. Plenty of leg by Chertoff, and Carleton's now got a 7-0 lead over the Scots. Today's tilt for the Book of Knowledge. This is a trophy that was instituted in the kind of late 90s, just a bit, Josh, before we got to attend in Macalester, but it's now in its 21st year, so 20 times this book has been obtained or retained by one of the teams, and it's kind of a cool trophy game. The Scots got out of the MIAC, I believe 2003 is when they got out of the MIAC, and then they just recently rejoined the Midwest, or joined the Midwest Conference for football only. All the rest of the sports are in the MIAC still. Carleton's still a MIAC member for football as well as the rest of their sports, and Macalester retained 2 traditional MIAC opponents for the first 2 weeks. Hamlin, which they'll play next week, and Carleton. So it's really fun to have some of this history baked in. I mean, they've been playing Carleton since like the 20s, I think. Same with Hamlin since.
It was very nice to see that they could keep playing a couple of MAAC teams, not being in the conference for a couple of reasons. Obviously, proximity is nice, but to keep those rivalries going, and they play Hamlin for the
paint bucket.
The paint bucket. So that's another fun trophy game. But going back to that last possession, unfortunately, it was an offsides penalty that hurt the Scots pretty bad on defense.
Here's the kickoff returned by Johnny Nee. Nee catches it up the middle for him. He actually shifts the field right to left, and he's got a great return all the way out to the 43-yard line. 44-yard line, give an extra yard on the return. Nice return. Interesting thing where I think the Scots were setting up to return left, to return cross, and Johnny Nee took it all the way across the field.
Well, he saw the first seam and went full speed into it, and once he got through there, he picked up a key block. I didn't get the number on it, then just used his speed to get to the outside. That's what you want to see right there. Mac now has the ball in some pretty good favorable field position. There was a slow, methodical drive that Carleton went and scored on, and now Mac's got some excitement going to try to see if they can even things up here on this drive.
And 4 wide receivers for the Scots, and they're going to tuck Strivik kind of in tight. I think you're going to see him play a little bit of hybrid H-back type system. But Alec Beatty, the player to know for the Scots on offense, number 10. He's on the far side. You're going to get a handoff, goes to number 40 for the Scots. That's Christian Rapport.
Coach Jennison said in a meeting this week, don't be surprised if we get the ball to Rapport on the edges. He's very fast. So he said, keep an eye there. That's something that they maybe want to take advantage of. Get him running to the wide side, see if he can catch an edge and take off and run.
And so that was an action that we saw a lot last year with Beatty on this, was that they would run Beatty. That was kind of that fly play with Rapport, but Beatty, they'd actually arc him behind the quarterback. And the thing to remember with Beatty is he came in as a quarterback. Mm-hmm. And so I kept waiting for him last year to throw that kind of end around with the pass with Beatty. I didn't see it at a home game, but I hope they rolled it out at some point. And there's a handoff right side, and Steffen will plow ahead, gain of about 2. And Scots are going to be up to 3rd and 7. I think a big key, the Scots offense is going to be staying out of these 3rd and something longs. They do a nice job, just like we saw Carleton, the quick throws out to the flats with the receivers, and that works really well in those 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4 range. But it's a little bit tougher now. 3rd and 7, you've actually got to stand, plant, and throw.
We're going to have the offensive line's going to need to give Petrich some time here so the receivers can get out into their routes. It's going to be a tough 3rd and 7 to pick up. Let's see what the Mac staff has in store here.
Mark Davies, the offensive coordinator for the Scots, he actually sits right next to us in the booth, so we can't say too much terrible about him. He does a great job for the Scots. There's Petrus, goes short. Steffen's got some work, and he makes it. Oh, they're going to say out of bounds short. I thought he had an extra step or two. And it's going to be 4th and 1. Scots at the Carleton 47-yard line. So, Josh, this is a big
for Coach Jennison. Let's see what let's see what he's going to do here.
There's no indication that they're going to they're going to change over. I was going to say that's why Jennison gets paid the somewhat large dollars of being a small college football coach.
And I must have been blocked off on that play too. I thought Steffen made a jump move and got past the sticks. But he must have obviously went out of balance before he made that move.
And this is where we do have replay capabilities. This is a new one. Matt McLagan got a nice update. There's a kick. Great snag by the Scots punter. And the kick picked up by Carleton. And a friendly chest-to-chest bump. I think that was just some a little bit of talking to Chelsea with the great snag by the Scots punter to corral the high snap.
Back to that 3rd down play, the offensive line of Macalester held tight, did a great job, gave Petrich some time, but the coverage was great, and so he was forced to check it down to Steffen, and I think he probably threw about a 3 or 4 yard route, and you're hoping your running back can make some guys miss and pick up the extra yards, but credit Carleton for great coverage there, and on 3rd and 7 they had the receivers all locked up pretty tightly, great protection for the quarterback, but unfortunately Mac couldn't convert.
The Scots going to have to contend with Carleton now on offense again. Carleton converted that first drive into a touchdown. 8 minutes left. There's a quick flip. And on that kind of fly sweep, you had number 2, Williams, for Carleton. And he gets a gain of about 3 or 4. And this is what, Carleton right now, the way that they're running the offense, this is when Macalester's been successful over the last 3 or 4 years. This is what it feels like, I think, for Macalester when they're out there. It's that tempo-y, like we're going to keep making connections on every pass is going to be connected. It may not always be long, but it's going to be effective, and you're just going to keep moving away at the chains. Carleton drops back. There's a little bit of a screen action. And you get a catch by number 82, Fletcher Metz. 6'3", 200, so a fairly big boy on the outside.
Jaxtis had an opportunity to blow that play up a little bit, but he just kind of lost some footing and wasn't able to make the tackle. We'll go third and 2 here.
Carleton does have a senior at quarterback, Christian Zaytoon. 6-foot senior from Raleigh, North Carolina. Zaytoon takes the snap and he'll hand off up the middle. Good job swallowing up the ball carrier, and I think the Scots stopped him short on 3rd and 2.
Credit the big guys up there. The big guys held their ground and allowed the linebackers to knife through and through the holes. And
yep. We'll talk a little bit more about this, Josh, but Ben Lewis is kind of right at the point where they were trying to run to, big number 90 for the Scots. He's one of the captains. I had a chance to sit down with some of the captains and chat with them a little bit on Thursday after practice. Very impressive folks, but Lewis was certainly one of the guys I got a little time to talk with. Fair catch called for, and Smith will down the ball at the 40. So, Josh, that's a major rule change this year, and I actually saw it in the Auburn game that I was watching earlier today. First time I've seen this happen in college football. On not punts, but on kickoffs, you can now fair catch inside the 25.
And get to the 25.
And the ball goes out to the 25. And that was the first time I'd seen it actually today live in a college game. But a very interesting rule. I've always wondered why. Sometimes I think if you can get the kicker to get a little air and get it to the 5, you tend to have a good chance of covering. And now you can kind of negate that a little bit.
Well, I think the idea is to try to eliminate some of the car crashes out there.
Yeah, that's right.
They happen on kickoffs quite frequently.
So Scott's second drive on offense. They're hoping to get a little more rhythm going. 4 wide receivers for the Scots. Petrich will send. Runner in motion. Now Steffen takes the handoff, and he's going to get 7 yards. So a good gouge on first down for the Scots to get 6 or 7 yards, and that'll get them off to a much better start than they had any time of last drive.
So they're using rapport there as a decoy, and if you're Carleton, you're going to have to respect the guy's speed, right? So you're going to have to respect that he might get that ball and try to hit the edge. So they're spread out a little bit, so Steffen was able to find the hole, the crease in the middle, and pick up a 7-yard gain.
Scott's now much tighter in. Their wide receiver isn't terribly wide, almost to the hash. There's drop back. Petrich looks downfield. There's the throw down to Beatty. Beatty tries to come back for the ball, and they're going to get a pass interference call. You got 2 flags coming in. Beatty tried to come back to the ball that was thrown kind of slightly inside of him, and some contact by the Carleton defenders.
Quarterback got there just a little bit too early. I thought it was good coverage up until the spot where he made contact a bit early. He was running well with Beatty. A bit, I don't know if it was underthrown or just maybe a little bit more to the inside than Beatty expected, but Beatty made a great job to adjust to it.
And so that was, I had to say, while they're walking off this penalty, a 15-yard penalty, Josh, I had a chance to go out and watch a little bit of practice Thursday. Got to, as we said earlier, you and I both know Marshall. So I went out to say hi to Marshall Mullenbach. He's the one that invited me out for practice. And Marshall's kind of standing where the official is toward the back right now. And Scott's threw one of those plays up the seam, and I think I was heading for the hills out the back of the end zone. Football seems very sanitary where we sit up here. Like it's all of a sudden when there's a big guy in pads running towards you, it's a different feeling.
They close in fast.
Yeah, it was feeling very small out there. So there's the kind of fake end around into another end around. And Beatty with the ball, he's going to be all the way down to the 15. And so some nice play design, Josh. You were talking about how much of a decoy that the Scots can have with their rapport, and that time decoy plus.
Well, when you got speed, Beatty and rapport who can absolutely run, you're going to have to make some decisions at times. As Carleton's defense is going to have to cheat to try to beat those guys to the edge. And here they had good flow going the one way, and then they reverse it with Beatty, and you got a guy who can run against a defense that has to turn and come back to try to get him.
I mean, Beatty was running that route for the last couple of years, so he's got it in his bag of tricks. They've trained him for it. I might as well use it again. Stefan directly behind Petrich, and now they're going to hand off to Knee on the end around, and the Scots kind of deploying this end around like Carleton did that little bubble screen the first drive where it's working. They're not stopping it. Let's keep going.
Get the ball into the hands of your athletes, and let the big guys up front hold some people off, and let the athletes try to get the seams or get around a corner. I want to go back to the second down pass. What that first down gain of 7 allows you to do, it allows Coach Davies to maybe take a shot at something like that, thinking, hey, it's 2nd and 7. If this is an incomplete pass, we should be able to convert on 3rd and 3. So it gives them a chance to open up the playbook. They didn't hit the pass, but they hit the big penalty and got a big gain there. So I think credit to Coach Davies for opening up the playbook on that 2nd and 3 there to try to shift some momentum to the Mac side. And now here we are down inside the 20, and a great opportunity for the Scots to maybe punch it in here. So
I don't know if it's coming through necessarily on the shot that you're seeing from the camera, but Josh and I are finally getting a little bit of relief that the sun coming in our eyes. It's a beautiful view that we have coming out from the press box. You can see downtown Minneapolis off to the right, and beautiful skyline and the trees and stuff that we have here in the Highlands. But it's got some sun glare going on out here, and it's quite a warm day, so the fellas are getting a good
lather.
Yeah, good. It's going to be a good sweaty game for a little while in this primetime game for the Scots. Petrich will settle in 2nd and 9. He drops back, looks left side, flips the flare out to Stefan. Stefan's got some blocks ahead of him, and a big block by number 11, Strybeck, coming back to pick off that corner. And Stefan in for the touchdown. Great teamwork by the Scots skill position players.
Fantastic. Strybeck threw a great one. Alec Beatty was out front too and made a very key block, towards an interior guy who was going to make some pursuit. So you love seeing your skill guys getting down and dirty and making those blocks and giving a chance for your guy to score. I was very impressed with those 2 blocks. Beatty, I definitely saw that one. I missed the Strybeck one, but I'm glad we each caught one of the big blocks on that play.
And Chelsea will line up for the extra point kick for the Scots. They attempt to bring the game even at 7 apiece. Kick is up.
Showtime.
And in showtime, exactly. It's a great moniker for them. I'm sure that's going to be one that as these football guys graduate and go on to doing fantasy football games or email threads, that Showtime's going to live on for a while. So 7-7 between the two teams, and Josh, it was an interesting thing. One of the major pieces I picked up when we were kind of watching some scrimmaging between the teams Thursday, and so it was kind of a scout team defense against first team offense, and they rotated first team defense versus scout team offense, and that blocking was one of the major differences when you get the first team guys on. The blocking on the outside was so much tougher. I mean, those guys, and Beatty's not he's not the biggest guy in the world. He's very athletic, but he's not the biggest guy in the world. But boy, is he tough on the edge with that block, just like you called out on that play.
And it doesn't, it's not like an interior block where you got to latch onto a guy and drive him to the ground. You got to remember, you're trying to occupy a defender for that 1 second while the skill guy who is fast can get around. So you don't need to pancake a guy out there, but you got to figure out how to get in front of him, occupy him for that whatever 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds to allow your guy to spring on by.
Yeah, I think if you were to draw the arc that Stefan ran, the guys were blocked on the arc, but then inside of that arc, toward the inside of the field, there were probably 3 or 4 guys unblocked. So the Scots did a really great job of picking up what needed to get blocked and sort of cutting off the things that didn't.
It's the runner's job to outrun those interior guys that go unblocked, and he did that.
Carleton take the ball at the 10. Return goes out to the right side. And a good second effort is going to pick up 2 or 3 extra yards for the Carleton returner until the Scots tackle him at the 25. And I always think, and maybe this is just the statistical part of me, but I always look at that 25, and I wish if we had a way to highlight it on a kickoff. The 25 is always that standard of did you get what you needed to out of the kickoff? And now with the ability to call a fair catch and get it at the 25, there's no excuse not to start there. I mean, if you make a decision and catch the ball without that fair catch, you better get to that 25.
No doubt.
So that is exactly where Carleton will start. Perfectly average beginning of the drive for them. They've got 3 wide receivers far side there on that near hash. 4:13 left. First quarter, 7 apiece. Scots give a good amount of ground on the outside, and you've got a catch. This is going to be Fletcher Metz. I think we've called his name 2, 3, 4 times already today.
Dean Smith on the coverage, and you're right, he gave him a lot of cushion. And they were playing 2 safeties over the top, and I was surprised how much cushion he gave him with those 2 safeties being there.
There's your hitch and go. And no flag. I thought that might have been a tiny bit early. That was very close on a number of types of flags, both from receiver over the middle and an early hit, but both considered to be good plays.
That was timed pretty well. That was Keontae Miles, the safety position, stepping up, and I think he got there right as the ball got there. Gave a nice pop and jarred that ball loose.
So now that to me, I think, Josh, was the first time that I saw Carleton hold on to the ball at all, right? That was the first time they didn't release it on the second or third step, and it was interesting. Scott's defense reacted a very funny way. It was almost like they stopped for a second. Like it felt like time and space stopped while that guy kept trying to go towards the middle.
We talked about the play before where Dean Smith gave a lot of cushion, and maybe the Scots just don't want to get beat deep, and so they're going to give that cushion pursuit and make that tackle. But I had to think it was coming, that they were going to run a stop and go or a slant and go route if the Scots were going to start jumping some of those short routes.
So you got 2nd and 10 after the incompletion. 3 wide receivers. You got a bit of an H-back look now. Running back shifts right side. And play fake. Good pressure by the Scots. And number 69 for the Scots got in. Nice job right up the middle. John Newton.
Yeah, that quarterback in quite a compromising position.
I was going to say, it was
almost bent in half.
Two points for the takedown. Yeah. It's college wrestling right there. Yeah. That's a Augsburg special takedown. Augsburg College, a MIAC opponent that Macalester sees in other sports. National champion wrestler.
Down on the board there.
And so it's going to be 3rd and 10. This is a position. There's a quarterback to the 20-yard line.
Solid read by Petrich right there.
I apologize for being down. Sorry about that.
Okay. I just found out we were down for a little bit on the game. Okay, and we might have missed the interception there, but so Keontae Miles a pick, and Scots had the ball after the interception of the 25. Carleton was on the 25 when they threw it. Miles returned it to the 25, and now the Scots are deep in the drive, 3rd and 5.
I'm not as familiar with the Scots kicker here, so 3rd and 5 here. I would guess we're in 4-down territory, so we don't have to get it all here. They can run something with a high level of success or a high opportunity for success. But they go to the end zone.
Yep, down the side. And nice defense and a good effort. And that was Beatty going up for the football, broken up by number 23. That's McGregor, the punt returner. And Scots are going to, looks like, try it. That's a 37-yarder. I would imagine this is at the very end of Chelsey's range.
The kicking game, I think, has really improved in college football over the last 10 years or so. It seems like young players might be more interested in that specialty, maybe. And I'm curious to see, this attempt here.
Smith with the hold for the Scots. There's Chelsey's kick is up. And good 37-yard boot for Chelsea. Splits the uprights. And with 15 seconds left in the first quarter, Scots take a 10-7 lead.
Plenty of leg there. Plenty of leg for Chelsea on that kick. If I could have taken it back another 7-8 yards.
So I have to say, I think, Josh, you brought up the Showtime moniker. I'll tell you what it is. I think that it's the fact that he has the no sock look, which is demonstrably a kicker look, right? I think that's what makes that kick.
Sometimes when you're just the kicker, you got to figure out, hey, what am I going to do to set this apart a little bit?
Yes.
And you got to go with some different looks.
But you've got the very low cut cleats, the no showing sock. Everybody else on the field, if you look, pretty much has some sort of sock showing. I mean, it's like a 50s basketball game look with the mid calf going, right? But except for the kicker. I mean, that's the guy who has the no socks. So
the thing that would clinch it here for me is if you went to like the one bar face mask as the kicker.
Exactly. The like Morton Anderson, all the Vikings fans here would be catatonic again. Ugh. Letting an Anderson back on the field. So there's the kick from Chelsea. And you're going to have it go out of bounds. Ooh, that's a rough one. That goes out at the 2, and that'll give the Scots field position at 35. Tough bounce, as that had a chance to bounce short, and the Carleton player was already signaling fair catch, so if that had bounced the other way, that would have been a good run for the Scots. It's Josh, the thing I think about it used to be you could make a player in Madden football video game, right? And they used to have the appearance stat, right? And it wasn't based on anything but how cool the guy looked. So it was the more visors, the more wristbands you put on. I think,
swag.
Yeah, I think that's a huge part of this. Is do you have your 50 pieces of flair?
It's fun.
And as a kicker, when you get 10 high leverage things, go for it.
Why not?
So Carleton takes over at the 35. He drops back. There's a throw downfield again. That's the same type of play we've seen, and this is the name we were looking for. Mac Journell is the one who was targeted on the attempt. A little bit over his head, and then incomplete. So it'll be 2nd and 10.
He actually had a bit of an opening. The throw was a little bit long, but he got behind the DB there and had an opportunity to make a play, just couldn't quite connect.
Journell certainly seems to be pretty athletic from what we've seen. I mean, that break seems like he got some separation. There's the throw outside. And a good move by the big Carleton receiver. That's number 82, Fletcher Metz.
He might get a hold or a face mask here, the way that flag came in from back judge.
So it is going to be an illegal block in the back. So that will move Carleton backwards. That's a tough one for them. I mean, they had gotten it down to what would have been a 3rd and 3 on this next play, and now they're going to have a 2nd and 15. Depends. I think it's a spot of the foul thing.
It's a spot of the foul.
It's going to be 2nd and 13. That to say, Josh, so if you're just tuning in for the first time watching a game with Macalester football, you won't really notice it as we come up to the end of the first quarter, but all new field for the Scots. They totally ripped up all the turf. Scots athletic department went through a rebranding effort last year, changed the color scheme. It's now a navy instead of a royal blue, and a kind of more stately orange, if you will, a little bit darker orange. And so we got the field all into that branding, the font and all the rest of that stuff. But the other thing that, even before that, I was amazed when they came up with the microphones for the officials thing at Macalester. Like, that was the moment where I go, oh yeah, this is kind of cool. Like,
I mean, it's I go back again, and it's college football.
Yeah.
And whether you're at Macalester or you're at Alabama, obviously there's some big differences.
Sure.
But there's an expectation about college football, and I think it's really cool that that we did that here. It adds an element of professionalism, I think, and just adds to the game day experience for the fans, which is a big piece to it as well.
Yeah, I mean, that certainly wasn't here when we were in school, and it was one of those things where you had to be a little more nuanced fan, knowing all these crazy bring the aircraft in signals from the official, right?
Yeah, you had to know all those things. And here you have an opportunity. I think what was even cool is they were mic'd up for the coin toss, so you got to hear how that went down, and that's a fun thing for fans to get to see and experience. I know in major broadcasts that's been great to see.
There's a screen play, ball thrown over the middle, and some blockers ahead. Nice run by Sean Goodman. And he's going to be out to the 50. So you're going to have a gain of, looks like about 17. The coach for Carleton was out
What was he doing?
10 yards onto the field yelling about something. I don't know if he wanted a hold or a late hit on the quarterback or what happened. So, player down for the Scots. That gives us a chance to, the two people that went out to talk to the Scots player would be Coach Jennison, and you also have
This is Miles. It's down right now, and that would be a tough guy to lose on defense. We've seen him make some really good plays today from that safety position. He broke up a pass, intercepted a pass, and really he's just been running all over the field in this pursuit defense that Mac is trying to play. He's a key guy for that, so we'll have to see what's ailing him here. Get the trainer out with Coach Jennison checking on him.
So that was who I was going to mention, Paula Natvig. So Paula's actually, what is this, her 15th year at Macalester, I believe. She's been here since 2004. One of those people who, day in, day out, working with the athletes across 3 different sports, or across 3 different seasons. This is her particular area of focus is the football team during the fall, but that's a group that works very hard at Macalester.
It's a thankless job. They're responsible for keeping the players healthy and on the field and all those things, and it's a ton of hours.
And they pretty much get a psychologist degree when they're on the taping table, right? I mean, they are the ones who, they're the counselors to the team in a lot of ways too. It's pretty amazing the mental health part of this that they keep up. So Carleton had the ball 1st and 10 on the 50. Scott sent an extra rusher. Play complete to Jernell on the outside. So it's going to be 2nd down and a short 1 to go. Carleton now into Macalester territory, and this is someplace, since the touchdown drive, they haven't really been. The Scots have done a nice job flexing up on defense, and that defense is going to have to start to muscle up a little bit and hold Carleton. Lots of time in the pocket. There's a throw. Nice catch. And some room to run for the Carleton receiver. He's tackled eventually by a couple of Scots players. Andrew Smith pointing the tackle, along with number 29, Mason Cohn. So Smith, senior defensive back. He's from Wisconsin. Cohn from Virginia. First down for Carleton. They're on about the 20 or 21. There's a throw to the outside, and Jernell didn't get his head even around to look at the ball.
I think we had some miscommunication there.
That did kind of feel like the traditional back shoulder throw that you see a lot of.
Jernell kept going. He didn't seem to know that he was supposed to stop and come back to it.
No. And good coverage by Smith on the outside for the Scots.
Smith's had his hands full today. He's had to really play some tough coverage.
So it's going to be 2nd and 10 for Carleton. 13:50 left. Second quarter, there's a quick throw over the middle. Nice catch. And a gang tackle for the Scots. And about 3 or 4 players in. And that's, I've asked Marshall several times, boy, when you're playing well, what do you see? And Marshall replies every time, we've got guys flowing to the football. We are a pursuit defense, and we've got to get 3, 4, 5 guys in on the tackle. And so that's the type of thing where Marshall's going to look at that and go, yep, we're starting to get there. We'd like to tackle them sooner, but that's the type of thing I like to see.
Pursuit got there.
Yeah. There's the handoff. Nice tackle by the Scots at the shoestring. And they're going to pull down the Carleton runner.
The linebacker position, knifing through, looks like I couldn't get a number, but that was a great job of knifing through and making a stop.
So big play coming up, 4th and 1. That's what the scoreboard says. And that's what they're going to put on the down box as well. So big play. Nice crowd today between the 2 schools in Minnesota, and they're going to be up at their feet, both sides, trying to cheer on their respective teams. There's the snap. Run up the middle, and it will be close. Looks like the Carleton runner will get it. And they're going to say 1st down. It'll be 1st and goal on the 9.
Got that ball with a full head of steam and found a small crease, put his head down, and got the yard they needed. It was good running. It was Sean Goodman Jr. out of Houston, Texas, the 5'7", 205-pound sophomore running back. He's made some tough runs today.
He's back in the backfield again. Zaytoon takes the snap, looks left. Now throws the outside to Goodman off of Goodman's hands.
That was close to a fumble. That was about as close as you could get to having a forward pass.
Well, I was just about to say, Josh, it's so funny you mentioned that because the ball hit the ground, and instead of seeing 10 linemen, 5 from each side, dive on it, the ball kept rolling. It seemed like that's a quick one to pounce on.
They may have blown that down pretty quickly. But that was about as close as you could get on a forward pass.
2nd and goal coming up from the 9. Zaytoon and Goodman still in the backfield. There's the snap. Zaytoon drops back, throws right side. Corner of the end zone. Great defense by the Scots defensive backs.
That was great defense. That play didn't have much of a chance at all. It's at 28 out there on that side. Dean Smith, the cornerback out of California. Great coverage on that play. That was Cooper Tunak on the coverage.
So that's the player. I mean, Fletcher Metz is the guy out there for Carleton. If I were Carleton, that post-up play is exactly what I do. He's 6'3", so have him burrow into the receiver, turn post up, and I think that's a nice play out there for Carleton, and even better defense by Scott's DBs. And great job right there. Andrew Smith avoided the block on the outside, and where the Scots on the touchdown run the Scots had, they had a couple of those blocks get made. This time Smith sidestepped the block and able to make the tackle.
Shed that block attempt. You're right. Those are the two. Well, that's one of the blocks that Mac hit on their touchdown. And here the defense does a great job sidestepping that, and we're gonna have a field goal opportunity.
The field goal attempt for Carleton. This is a tough one. This is like a 23-yard attempt from the hash, so an interesting angle. There's a broken play, and Zaytoon will slip, and the Scots are going to get the ball. A little bit better field position to start their drive.
I know it's a bad snap, but I don't know that he couldn't still put it down. He may have panicked a little bit. It certainly was not a great snap, but he bailed pretty quickly.
Yeah, so Zaytoon is listed as the holder. So it's not like they had to sub him in. I know last year there was at least one game where I think Andrew Smith got injured and the Scots had another holder in holding for them. And that's kind of a tough read. That internal clock is something that's definitely going to get developed.
Yeah, and when it's off, you got to make a decision to get out of there and try to make something happen, certainly. But I felt like he had some time still to put that ball down and try it. Break for the Scots, though. Yeah, big
break for the Scots, because that would have tied the game at 10 apiece if that had been up and in. 11:18 left, second quarter. Scots had the ball on their 23-yard line. Petrich drops back, surveys the field, and he's going to get flushed into a 1-yard gain.
Pretty good coverage there. The offensive line held up well, gave him time. He went through some of his reads, some of his progressions, realized there was nothing going on, so he tucked it and ran. So Carleton with great coverage on that play.
So I'll tell you, the thing that was out of frame probably on that shot is that one of the Scots managers went out almost to the middle of the field to retrieve looked like a towel or something that was in the middle of the field.
I put him on the clock. It was pretty good.
It was impressive.
Yeah, I put him on the clock. That was not bad.
It's another group of hardworking individuals, the football managers, and they happen to have some athletes in the group, it looks like. Petrich drops back, throws over the middle, and Beatty's going to be tackled after a gain of 11 or 10 on the play. First down
He's
for
been
the Scots.
impressive today so far. He's been as advertised. It's great to have a player of his caliber and his experience as a senior on this team, someone you can go to when you need it. And I talked to Coach Jennison this week, and he said Beatty's probably about as best of a player as he's coached, and maybe that's been in the program for a long time. He turned down some scholarship offers, some Ivy League offers, because Macalester was just a better fit for him. So it's great to see a guy like that having good success here and really being a team leader. And I think Beatty's parents are also Carleton alums, so they're
a house divided cannot stand, man. Yeah, and it's an interesting one. I think Beatty grew up listed on here as Kansas, and I believe it's probably where his parents lived for a while. And always amazing when these teams get together. Just about across any sport that you look at the roster, it's
everywhere.
20, 25 states represented on the rosters for these teams. And it's just a fascinating recruiting profile that goes through this.
Max got 71 players from 26 states and 4 countries. That's really cool to see.
And Steffen's going to be stopped right at the point. And after that illegal motion by the Scots, that's going to knock them back to 2nd and 15 upcoming for that stuffed run. Yeah, the interesting thing, a little bit of the comparison, when Carleton was going well, they were snapping the ball at 28-29 left on the play clock, so very quickly. Well, not quite Oregon Duck zone, but it was up there. The Scots are a no-huddle team, but they tend to run that clock down inside of 10 a lot. They are a deliberate no-huddle team, I guess would be the way to describe it. And I think some of that signifies the type of reads that they're asking their players to make. Petrich takes the ball, drops back, surveys the field. He hits crossing route. Reese Bresson. Bresson ahead, a 20-yard gain on the play. That'll get the Scots a first down.
He found a soft spot in the zone.
And it looks like we're going to get a timeout to Carleton. That'll give us a chance to take a quick off-air break here with the teams. 10-7, Macalester with the lead, 8:30 left, first half. And we're coming back in. The Scots will come back out of the Carleton timeout with the ball on the 48-yard line. It's going to be 1st and 10 after the Reese Bresson completion for 20 yards. Steffen in the backfield with Petrich. There's a handoff and an inside cut. Ooh, and a big hit at the end of the play. Good run. That was Bresson again, so 2 in a row. Bresson's chewed up 28 yards over the last 2 plays for the Scots.
He did a nice job of getting that handoff, and instead of taking it wide, he saw the crease and cut it upfield. If he keeps that ball going wide, it's going to be a hard time getting that same kind of yardage. So recognizes the hole, cuts it up, rips off, a 7-yard run? First down.
So 2nd and 3, Josh. Just be a good chance to take a shot downfield right
Certainly.
here.
And they've done it before. The Scots have taken a shot on this down and distance.
Yeah, they try to go to Strybeck on a little bit of a screen action. Ball's off his fingertips, and that's going to lead to 3rd down and 3 coming up. That was the chance. It seemed like Carleton rotated that one safety up, and you had a kind of one-on-one opportunity on the far side of the field. I believe it was Beatty up there that had that matchup. And so 3rd and 3. The Scots have the speedster Rapport in. Far side will be see if they run that fly action with him up the backside of the line.
And his presence on the field just changes what the defense has to do. Now they've got to account for a guy who is that fast, and maybe there's not even a thought of getting him the ball on this play, but you still got to account for him and how fast he can move.
Scots take a timeout. We'll take it with them. 7:49 left. Second quarter. Scots ahead 10-7, and trying to convert on this 3rd and 3. And coming back in, it's going to be 3rd and 3. Big down coming up for the Scots. Kind of right at that edge of where you might punt. The Scots brought on the punt team in this spot early in the first quarter. 7:49 left. Scots let Rappur run his out to the far side. There's Beatty on the cross. He's got the ball down to the 10, down to the 5. Touchdown, Alec Beatty on the long strike for the Scots. 45-yard touchdown pass on the crossing route. And I don't see...
We got a flag. The referee also threw a flag in the backfield, but he's picked it up since.
Let's see if
I'm thinking it was probably a roughing the passer penalty that's obviously going to be declined, which is why he picked it up.
I think he just asked Jennison, do you want the touchdown or the 15 yards?
15.
Oh, they're going to assess it on the kickoff. Interesting. So that would explain why the question. It wasn't necessarily touchdown or 15 yards. Chelsea will line up for the extra point. Great strike and connection between Petrich and Beatty.
We were just talking about Beatty, and a guy with tremendous skill and tremendous experience. He's a game breaker for the Scots, and he's the guy you want the ball in his hands, and that's why right there. Runs a crisp route, takes it, and then he's got yards after catch.
And the big thing, for Beatty, I'm sure that Beatty will tell you, that he's glad that the score put us farther ahead on the scoreboard and all that, but that is actually his 18th career touchdown. That is the most in Macalester history for a receiver. So very exciting.
Wow.
That's pretty cool. I know we got to go to school with a pretty good receiver, and Ty O'Connell was probably up there in that.
I believe he just broke Ty's record. I think Ty had that record.
So if it is, it was going to tie into something I was about to say. No pun intended with the tie. So Ty O'Connell was player from Montana that we got to play with on baseball. He was a very good football player for the Scots. And Jack Strybeck, also a Montana person. And so I was asking, Jack if he had met Ty, and I guess they hadn't met. But it's just funny because Jack has this uphill climb about trying to be the best player from Montana in the Scots history, and there's pretty good player out there from that state that we used to.
If I'm wrong, I thought I looked at the records and that Ty did have that. But I think if you're Carleton here, you got to be tired of seeing Alec Beatty. Last year he caught 5 passes for 172 yards and 2 long touchdowns, and here you got him. He's already scored a touchdown and has made some big plays. So he's wearing out Carleton. I got to imagine those defenders they won't miss Alec Beatty next year.
No, I think that's how. What was the running back that Lake Forest has had for a couple of years? Lake Forest has had a very good running back, and that's how I think the Scots feel about him. That's the way I feel calling the games. I'm very happy to see this person graduate, and I'm sure Alec Beatty will be the same way for Carleton. He's that player that could get his inscription on the Book of Knowledge. Certainly, that's what the teams are playing for. 17-7, Scots ahead after the scoring strike.
It's a key. They're all key defensive series here, but if Mac can get this ball back quickly, they get the ball to start the second half. So if they
that's a great point. Now you're starting to get Josh Moore into that sort of strategic game planning here. It's not just it's not just tactical play calling here, right? You're starting to get into the overall shape of the game.
So they can hold here, get the ball back with some time to try to make another scoring opportunity.
So Carleton will have the ball. 5-yard penalty. I'll back them up a bit. It's going to be 1st and 15 on the 20-yard line. Drop back pass across the middle, and there's some room to run. And there's the gang tackle. I count 6 Scots in on the tackle on the play.
You got
nice
the ball
job.
back into the hands of
Jernick.
Yep.
Jernell, excuse me, not Jernell. So Jernell, I think, what do we say? Josh had 3 of the first 4 catches on the drive that Carleton scored on and had a good clip, and now he catches that first one. And I think here, if you're the Scots, right, that was a nice play, some momentum from Beatty. You don't want to get caught on your heels if you're the defense. I mean, this is a big series to dig in.
Definitely. You want to keep Carleton from moving the ball. We're going to have a hold there.
Flags.
I think number 21 is going to be guilty, Josh Angevine, of a hold. Maybe personal foul. Oh. Shot block said one guy going low, one guy going high. And you can't do that.
So, Josh, that was the other thing, actually, that Marshall was talking about, was the one other big rules change besides the fair catch on kickoffs is they are focusing in on some of the blocks below the waist, some of the cutting that goes on, and some of the
It's just absolutely
chops.
Dangerous when a guy is engaged up top and someone comes in low. There's just no opportunity for them to defend themselves. It's very dangerous. I'm glad to see the officials paying attention to that.
Well, there's a creative shovel. The inside, it doesn't yield much. I think it's only a yard or a yard and a half, but nice angle. That was the Phillip Rivers special at the sidearm.
That was great pursuit from the Scots too. There was an opportunity to maybe make a break, but they closed in very quickly. Gang tackled. Scots are in a very favorable position now. I mean, this is second and forever.
Yeah, I mean, this is a chance. They're going to be throwing twice over the next 2 downs, and I think it's a chance for your defensive backs to lick their chops a little bit and try to get a hold of one. There's the drop back. Quarterback scans the field. Scots commit a few extra on the blitz, and nice tackle by the Scots. They're going to get the ball carrier down after a gain of 6.
Yeah, Scots brought the pressure there, but they held a nice zone. They played zone behind the pressure. Let the guy catch it and then converge to the ball. I mean, it's 2nd and 23, so we're not letting anybody behind. Let's keep all the action in front. Let the tacklers fly to the football just like they did right there.
I'd be surprised, Josh, if we're not saying the same thing on this play.
I think you're gonna see a screen of some sort here, a quick hitter to try to see what can happen here. I can't imagine they're gonna try to throw this ball downfield, but they might. They are.
There's the drop back for Carleton. Throw over the middle. Nice catch.
Nope, hit the turf.
It's going to be incomplete. And I was just about to tell you, Josh, I made this comment off air that the Scots put in this new field. I think the top layer of the rubber pellets are green. It makes it really tough to see when that ball scoots off the turf. Normally you'd see that rooster tail of black pebbles.
This field is just beautiful. I mean, obviously it's going to get wear and tear, which it should, as the soccer teams and the football teams and all the sports teams play. But right now, this field is beautiful. First football game on it.
Carleton in punt formation. Good snap. Short kick. Ball is just going to nose over to the 45, and it takes a Carleton bounce and gets an extra 10 or 11 yards.
We said it a few minutes ago. The Scots are just in a great position now. You got 5:30 left to go in the half. They get the football to start the second half, and their offense has found a little bit of momentum.
And I was just about to say that this thing of playing a night game for the Scots is quite the luxury. Every Midwest Conference game, I believe, is a 1 o'clock start across the whole conference, and so these Scots 2 opportunities between the Hamlin and the Carleton games to get that late start in. So it's kind of a fun thing to be playing in the evening. We just had to turn the lights on in the press box. That never happens.
Well, it's fun now that, school move-in was this week, and then you got a night game on top of it. So you got a lot of students here.
So there's a
Great
drop
crowd.
back. Petrich looking downfield. There's a throw off of two receivers' hands for the Scots.
There seemed to be a little action in there, then I'm a little surprised we don't see a penalty flag there.
Yeah, well, what I think was strange is that the nearer receiver to the inside is the one that got all the contact. So I don't know if they thought the ball was going to the outside receiver or what, but the inside receiver for the Scots actually had a better chance of catching the football on that pass.
It wasn't a ton of contact, but it seemed like it was enough downfield to draw a penalty flag, and obviously the officials disagree with that. Scots took a big chance right there.
Now it's going to be 2nd and 10, and like you said, Josh, I think that's the Scots rolling the momentum dice a little bit to see. They just had the last time they had the ball was a 45-yard completion for a touchdown. Let's see what we could do again, this time going down the outside instead of the middle. So, player a little banged up for Carleton. It's down.
And why not take that shot? Everything's going fairly well for Macalester right now. The offense has moved the ball a few times. The defense has been very impressive, I think, in outside of that first drive, which was very methodical and a very well executed drive for Carleton. The Scots defense has done pretty well. There was the miscue on the field goal attempt, which is the last time that Carleton had the ball deep in Macalester territory, but the Scots defense has held up very well. And things I think are going well for Coach Jennison and his team now. Why not take that shot here?
That's what we haven't seen so far for the Scots is we haven't seen the Scots rotate quarterbacks. I was expecting so far to have seen Johnny Bice come in the ballgame, junior quarterback for the Scots. Not necessarily Cody Petrich, the senior, is playing great, but right now the Scots have a chance to change it up. I think Bice may offer a little bit different in the packages, and there's a fake to the fly and handoff to Steffen up the middle. He's kind of stuffed, and I think the end of the play got driven back to the line of scrimmage, but 3 yards on forward progress, and it's going to be 3rd and 7 coming up. It is. It's always a fascinating. I think one of the sort of flavors, if you will, of coaching that comes in to the football side is how do I communicate plays in. So the Scots have this really interesting thing where they're communicating to different groups using some hand signals from the sideline, and not giving anything away when I say it looks quite intricate up here, and I can't tell you if they're actually telling them. But it's kind of like using the big signs like the Ducks did for a while, and
which may or may not mean anything. I mean, you don't even know. I mean, maybe there's signs, right? But there's another coach that's actually or another player that's really relaying plays in.
Yeah, I think the only thing we're missing is the guy with the towel trying to shield the other team from it, right? That's the only thing that happens when you have more guys on the sideline that are getting paid is you get some people that can hold towels like that. So it's going to be 3rd and 11. Scots had a delay game penalty. Scots now down to 9 seconds left on the play clock. 5, 4. They're going to have to get this snap off. And they do. Petrich drops back, surveys. There's a flag that came down. Petrich tucks and runs. And he's going to get down after a gain of maybe 1 or 2. Certainly didn't pick up the first down on the play, and we'll see what the penalty is.
Yeah, it's going to be illegal motion. Steffen, I don't think was set.
So 5 men in the backfield was the call, so that must have been somebody not on the line of scrimmage on the receivers, I'm guessing. And they're going to decline the penalty, I believe, turn it to 4th down. The Scots will be out to punt. This is also one of those neat things I think happens at this smaller college football level. You get the same person doing the place kicking and the punt. I always think that's really neat. Occasionally you'll see it. I think Alabama had number 97 a few years ago that was doing both of them for them, but it's very rare that you get folks who can do that at that level. There's a kick. Chelsea nearly straight up in the air and takes a great Macalester bounce. That's going to pick up an extra 15 yards for Macalester.
At the Division I level, if you can have a guy that can be your place kicker and your punter, you save a scholarship. And so if you get a 2-for-1 guy, that would certainly be a nice piece for a head coach to bring someone in like that, so that you got an extra scholarship that you can award to someone that might have a little more impact.
That's one thing you miss at this level are the wonderful viral YouTube video of the surprise scholarship offer, right? I mean, you don't have Lane Kiffin doing the master's class in acting trying to get away
scholarship. There was
a
really cool video this week, though, when the Scots were told by President Rosenberg that they were getting orange uniforms. Or these are brand new jerseys. I know Coach Jennison not a fan of the orange jersey, but the players earned it, and there was a really cool moment yesterday when Brian Rosenberg met with the team to share with them, how proud he was of not only things that they're doing as student athletes, but members of the community as well, and rewarded them with these really cool orange jerseys they're wearing tonight.
I have to say, that was probably the most well-worded presentation ceremony in the history of football, because Rosenberg's always so well-spoken.
Certainly.
And pass to the outside. Carleton completes it, gets it ahead to the 45-yard line. And you're going to have a 2nd and 1 coming up. Carleton, a little bit of a hurry up now. We got about 3 minutes left. This is a chance. I mean, this is a big drive for Carleton in the sense that they got a chance to really tie this score up. And there's a nice screen on the outside. Jernell, again, beneficiary of a nice block on the outside by number 12 for Carleton. Bo Nelson.
They're moving quick. They're hitting those short routes and letting their guys try to make players miss. They're getting back into what made them successful on that first drive.
So Carleton, 3 wide receivers top side. Scots drop back. And there's a throw to the outside, very uncatchable. And it's going to be 2nd and 10 coming up. Now, I was about to say, I mean, I think that's Josh, from the time we were in school until now, I think that's a major change having Rosenberg in and very established as president. It's amazing how much people like him, and he does an amazing job at the commencement speeches, and he's written some op-eds in the New York Times, places like that. I mean, he is so well-spoken, such a great representative of Macalester.
He really is. It's been fantastic to continue to follow the school as an alum and see that the great leadership that is leading this school, and certainly sees the value of athletics and how they fit into the student experience at a place like Macalester, and sees the value in them.
And his engagement and stuff like that is the only thing that's going to separate us from a school, to some extent, or keep us up with schools like Carleton. The exact same type of profile, and that type of support's what keeps the athletics going. I mean, there's not a ton that's different between these two schools besides the location. I mean, the composition of this school, the academics, things like that are going to be very similar between our schools. And in a lot of ways, the teams ebb and flow in terms of relative success on the field in some things. So Scott's, I was going to say, Scott's digging in. It's 4th and 5, and Carleton cedes this. The Scots will have great field position. A big play for the Scots. There's flags. Throw to the outside. Nice catch by Carleton. We'll have to see what these flags yield. I would guess an offsides.
Well, they didn't blow it dead, so it's going to be a defensive offsides, which is going to be declined.
That is exactly what it is. We decline the penalty, so big pickup for Carleton. As we said, Carleton's marching. I mean, they have not been down this far in Scots territory in a while.
Into their 2-minute offense here, so I wouldn't be surprised if you started seeing them push the gas pedal on some of these short routes again, get back to the ball and try to get the ball to their skill players again a few times quickly.
You've seen a great matchup near side. It's Jernell, number 3, against Smith, number 8 for the Scots. Smith gives Jernell a bit more room. The drop back and the throw. Good tackle by the Scots. We had number 43, Miles, coming up to make the play. There's the Carleton receiver, number 82, Metz again. He had the nice catch on 4th and 5 to secure the first down.
I think that was Blake on the tackle. I think it was
Blake,
the linebacker. Okay. It's good to see Miles back in. I know he came off the field with an injury earlier, but he's back in. Big piece for this defense.
Scots, a good pursuit on the backside. Nice slip out by Carleton. And a good individual move by the running back, number 2, Emmanuel Williams.
That's a heck of a throw right there by number 17 by the quarterback, Zaytoon. He's rolling to his right, turns, completely throws across his body. He's got 2 defenders chasing him. Great pursuit. Good offensive play right there, too.
There's a lot of trust that your running back, Williams, is going to be there. Because I've only worn a helmet a few times. You can't see very much, and you spin your head like that, it's going to be tough to pick somebody out. So nice job connecting by Carleton. Scott's got to dig in. 1st and goal, under a minute left in the first half. Boy, great defense by the Scots. It's going to be a touchdown for Carleton, but great coverage.
Great throw, good coverage. I thought they were going to go on a swing pass to Goodman Jr., who was going to be wide open coming around the edge. Well, the big 4th down conversion gives Carleton the energy they needed to try to push the ball across the goal line, which they did. So that's a big score right there. It's going to put them within 3 here, pending the extra point. Matt gets the ball in the second half. So if you're Carleton, you're happy going into halftime at 14-7 versus obviously 17-7.
All right. Extra point good. 17-14 Mac lead over Carleton. So it is 50 seconds left. First half of play. Kind of expect Carleton to kick the squib on this. I would think down. They don't want a big return coming out of
Johnny
the Scots.
Nee, remember in his return after the first score, he ran about a 30-yard return, and had some opportunities to maybe break that even more. So yeah, I don't think Carleton's going to kick it deep, but. What do I know?
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, this is the type of thing where, I think this is the fun part for the coaches in the sense that once you get out of having to play sort of tactical whiteboard football, right? This is how the play is designed. This is the blocking scheme. This is that strategic management that the head coaches get a lot of hand in doing. And I think this is where you've got to be really efficient, and that the head coach makes their money doing this kind of thing.
I agree. It's these types of calls that can really go a long way in a game.
I know my dad was a high school basketball coach growing up, and he always used to say, the making the plays, running the defense, things like that. That's interesting. It's the last 2 minutes of a game where you don't know what's going to happen. That's the really fun stuff for a coach, and so I think this is where you get that chance. And they do kick it deep. And they kick it to Nee. So here's a chance for the Scots to get a return. Nee goes right side, and he's got some room. He's got the kickoff. He's got one person to beat who trips him up. Good pursuit by Carleton. Nee gets the ball all the way to the 36 of Carleton. Boy, Josh, that was a fantastic reverse jinx.
We've seen Shosei hit from 37 too on a field goal attempt. So here, even if you don't get the touchdown, maybe you're looking to get some yardage to have another opportunity to put 3 more on the board. But I don't agree with the idea of kicking that deep.
Yeah, I mean it's a tough call. It puts the Scots in a win-win situation, right? Either they get a chance to break it. If they don't, you down it and you go and start talking about your next possession that you're going to get coming out of halftime. Now Scott's got a couple pops at some deep balls. There's a throw to the outside to Strybeck. Strybeck able to get out of bounds. Great play for the Scots. Right at the first down marker, so 35 seconds. I don't know, that's 4 or 5 plays if you're efficient.
Well, you still got 2 timeouts too going here.
So you can throw over the middle, right?
It doesn't right.
Doesn't take away between the hash marks. First down for the Scots on the completion of Strybeck. I believe that's Jack's first catch of the ball game. We have 3 players far side. And we're going to have a little bit of movement.
Yeah, you don't like to see that, obviously. That's a focus issue right there. You got the ball down here. You got a big gain. You got a chance to do something here. You have a mental mistake happen right there.
You got Knee back in the ball game. He's the one who had that great return. He's near side, number 83.
Keep an eye on Beatty here. Let's see if they don't run him crossing the field somehow. He's on the far side. Try to get him the ball in space.
A little bit of bobbled snap, blitz from the corner. There's Knee deep. He's got one person to beat, and he does. Johnny Knee with the touchdown for the Scots. 31-yard strike right at the end of the first half, and that'll put the Scots ahead 23-14.
You say Knee fielded that ball at about the 5 on the kick, right? So he covered 95 yards right there on a kick return and then a subsequent reception.
100 yards.
Oh, yeah.
Penalty.
The penalty.
But yeah, I mean, Johnny Knee just put the team on his back in the last 30 seconds of the ball game and carried him along. We're gonna get a couple extra seconds on the game clock.
Clock issues there, but that's a big swing right there for Macalester, and they're gonna go into halftime feeling real good and getting the ball back here with a 10-point lead. They've already shown that their special teams has been that today. It's been special.
I mean, Knee was one player away from breaking the kickoff. I mean, it was a heck of a play from number 23 by Carleton. He was one of their safeties to actually get him down by his shoestrings, and he didn't let that happen to the last player he had to beat on that reception. There's a snap. Hold is good. Kick is up. And in, and Scots push it back out to 24-14, and just, that's momentum is a fickle mistress, right, Josh? Because I mean, Carleton goes down, scores with 1 minute left, and you're thinking, boy, like you said, it couldn't have ended up any better for Carleton at that moment. And Johnny Knee ripped momentum right away from Carleton.
I would be surprised if Macalester kicked it deep, but we'll see what they're going to do here.
Yeah, well, and that's something where, if you had any thoughts of it, if you're Coach Jennison, you had any thoughts of really letting Chelsea out and booming the ball right now, I think your own team's play is the cautionary tale against that.
Well, as well as he's kicked tonight, he doesn't have the leg to put it, through the end zone. So a kick here that they, if they kick it deep, it's going to be returned. So.
Yeah, I mean, and on that comment, it's surprising at where we are in the field. There's no wind tonight. I mean,
it's dead.
The flag is completely draped toward the bottom of the staff, and the windmill that I think powers one light, Nolan Rice, is completely still right now. And so the Scots send a helicopter that goes out of bounds, and it looks like there was some extracurricular behind the play, too. I'm very underwhelmed by this back judge's flag throw. That is his chance to wind up and fling it, right? The one time you get a minute to load up and throw the flag is when that ball goes out of bounds on a kickoff.
So it looks like we're going to get to the 35 on the kick, and they're going to tack an extra, I believe, 15. I think there was a personal foul. So, I mean, we're going to get to midfield here.
And I mean, this may be hindsight that we'll get to talk about this in, but the other.
Yeah, this thing's going to the 50-yard line. So you've seen two special teams plays that have had an impact on this game. Oh, it's going to be offsetting. Well, there you go.
But Scott's dangerously close to giving up 50 yards on the kickoff. So this, if you're again, if you're the Scots, 27 seconds, you've really got to make these plays be in front of you and in the middle of the field right now.
I didn't see what happened, but I saw Coach Jennison run down the field and give an earful to Dane Blake, number 42, the linebacker, and get him off the field. He was involved in whatever it was that was going on.
Oh, boy.
Good throw.
Throw down the middle, and Carleton has a timeout. So the other thing that's a big deal is, when the end of that touchdown play, the officials took the clock from 22 to 27 seconds. And so the other thing that just happened is that extra play right there is simply the amount of time they added back on. And now Carleton's got the amount of time that it looked like when the Scots scored. So it's just interesting thing. These little decisions sometimes, it's a butterfly effect thing where it can come back and ripple its way back.
I think you're right. They'll get an extra play out of it. And we'll see if it has an impact.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, we may be either talking about that at the end of the game if it's close, or we may be saying nothing about it. But it's worth noting now.
Now it is worth noting for sure.
And so it is. I was just about to say, Josh and I think we commented early about the sun starting to go down because it got a little bit cooler as the sun went behind the clouds. It is a warm and sticky night tonight, and I think a really big part of that is there's no wind to clear it out at all. And generally, Scots games, there's a nice breeze generally left to right coming up the field, and affects the kicks a lot of times. And so right now, the kickers are actually kicking in a completely still, very heavy air right now. And so that's going to just limit that extra boom. So Carleton's got the ball 1st and 10 on the 42 of the Scots. There's the drop back, throw over the middle. And that's a tough one, boy. You almost want to bat that down if you're the Carleton player.
Nice tackle.
Yeah, it's great. And that's Carleton's second timeout. So Carleton's now burned the timeout. So now the Scots can pinch the sidelines a bit more.
It was a great tackle right there for a very minimal game, burn of a timeout. It was good coverage on the outside, too. Quarterback did take a look down and had to check that thing down because the deeper routes were covered on the outside. It's good coverage by Macalester.
So you were talking earlier about, and this isn't the pile too much more on him, but you were talking about Alec Beatty a little bit earlier and being a great recruit for the Scots, somebody that had a chance to possibly play at a little higher level. It's interesting when you watch some of the players interact sometimes. So I had a little chance to talk with some of the captains afterward, and I asked them a couple questions that were probably somewhere between a really good question and a really dumb question. I'm not sure which one, but they all kind of give you that blank stare. When there was some sort of indecision, they all look at Alec for the answer first. And so it's always interesting to watch the interaction between guys like that because Alec stands out among that crowd as the guy that when they're in a pinch, they look to.
They go to him.
Everything from questions and likely big plays in the game. I mean, that's where you're going to chuck the ball if you got an option. Throw down the sideline. And good defense by the Carleton receiver. Knocks the ball away. Coverage by Smith and Miles for the Scots.
Smith had great coverage on that ball. He had good position there. He put the Carleton receiver in a position where he had to play defense.
Smith's a big fella, 6'2", 187 out in the corner. That's a pretty big dude.
You like it when you can get size out in the corner, and typically you see cornerbacks being undersized when they go up against some bigger receivers. But it's good to have a guy 6'2" out there who can run. He's 187 pounds too, so he's not a small guy.
3rd and 9. Carleton still throws over the middle. And big hit laid out by the Scots. That was number 7. Clock's going to wind as soon as the ball gets set. Carleton flying down the field. And there's the clock wind. And they're going to get a spike at 9/10 of a second left.
Brogan on that big hit right there. That was Patrick Brogan, the safety, number 7, who pretty good lick on the receiver. And clean lick, right? Yeah.
I mean, that was the other thing about it that's a good, hard hit. Now Carleton's going to line up for the field goal attempt. So those were some big plays for Carleton. They're able to put some extra points on the board. 9/10 of a second, so this will be the only play. And the Scots are going to pull out the good northern football move of icing. That was a little bit of a funny discussion having yesterday with Keontae Miles. He's a He's from Oklahoma. So it was Keontae. What do you think about coming up here to play football, right? And I'm sure somebody from Oklahoma, he's probably really tired of that question. But he was saying he loves it. He thinks the seasons are fantastic. You know, you read some of the stuff about Big Ten football playing in the late fall on a cool, crisp out. He says, hey, I got to live that. It's pretty cool.
No, definitely.
So here is a 36-yard attempt, something right in there. Good hold. Kick is up, and good. Nice field goal. So a pair of 37-yard field goals for the teams. One for Chelsea, one for Carleton's kicker, which is Alex Chertoff. And the teams will go to the locker rooms. 24-17 lead for the Scots.
I think we've seen some good football in the first half. Certainly entertaining football. Some breaks here and there. A couple mental mistakes in there as well. But fairly clean for both sides. It was great. Max can get the ball to start the second half, and we'll see what happens there. I mean, Johnny Nee, they're going to have to keep an eye out for him if you're Carleton. He's made 2 great returns. He's going to have another opportunity to open up the second half.
So we'll be back in a little bit. 20-minute halftime coming up. We'll be back with the first half stats, second half of action in this tilt for the Book of Knowledge between Macalester and Carleton. All right, coming back in for the second half of action, and it hasn't gotten any less steamy in St. Paul. Hopefully this action's going to keep heating up as well on the football field. 24-17, Mac with the lead. And Josh, as you point out a couple times in the last 2 minutes, Mac's getting the ball coming out of the half, and that could lead to a big momentum push for them as they get on offense. I
just want to see Johnny Nee return kicks. That's worth the price of admission right there.
It's the coaches had mentioned that he was one of the better kick returners, and I didn't see him return much last year. I think the teams kicked away from him, and so I'd be really surprised. Like here, he's going to get a shot again that Carleton continues to kick towards him. He goes left, and he's got one guy to beat. There's a flag.
We're going to have a hold come in, or a block in the back, I'd assume.
That was a 27-yard heave by the official on that. Pretty good chuck of the flag. Yeah, like you're saying, that's, Beatty on a crossing route and Nee on the kickoff is worth the price of admission if you're going to watch some skill players.
Well, and tonight, Petrich has been pretty good. He's 8 of 12 for 136 yards. He's thrown 3 touchdowns, so he's taking care of the ball very well, and he's got it into the hands of the guys who run with it. So really credit him for playing well, the senior leader. He didn't play much last year. I know he started some games as a sophomore, so to stay with it and continue to develop his skills, and he finds himself in the position as a starter here as a senior, and has played very well in the first half. So we'll see how they come out here to start the second half. I expect them to do much of the same, try to stay balanced like they were in the first half, which they were pretty balanced.
So Scots are going to have the ball at the 20 after the penalty. We got a 7-point lead, and we got a half a football left. Petrich takes the snap, handoff to Steffen on that right side, and he makes a great spin move. That's going to buy him the extra 1.5 yards or 2 yards that he got on the play.
It seemed like he could have cut that up earlier. He took it. He kept taking it wide, and it seemed like there was a chance to take it up the gut a little bit, get a few extra yards. Rapport enters the game here, so they're putting in the speedster.
It's so funny, Josh, you mentioned that, because you said it earlier, right? Him coming into the game changes kind of how you plan it on defense. I saw the same thing. You beat me out of the punch on talking about it, but I'm looking for the same thing every time, which is when does he come in and what are they going to do?
Mm-hmm. He's in motion here. He gets it.
Stretch play to the outside. Good tackling by Carleton. That'll bring Rapport down. We'll talk about a little more as the Scots at some point transition to defense, but some really nice individual efforts in terms of tackling for the Scots. Danku Blake, Andrew Smith, Keontae Miles, Patrick Haley. It's kind of the guys we talked about at the beginning, Smith and Miles and Haley.
When you have the defense, the defensive strategy that Macalester does in the approach, you want to see a lot of guys with a lot of tackles, not just like one guy making all of them, because they really need each of those guys to pursue the football and gang tackle.
Petrich rolls right, looking downfield, throws short, but it's going to be enough for a first down for the Scots. And that is going to be...
Is that Bresson?
Bresson. Boy, Josh, I don't know if you have that trouble. You may have really good eyesight, but I struggle with these numbers. I know the orange uniforms were something that Jennison didn't like. I still struggled with their home jerseys from last year.
Yeah, it's difficult. We're not getting any younger, man.
Yeah, no kidding. I was thinking that as I'm looking at it. I changed from prescription sunglasses to prescription regular glasses as the sun went down, thinking, boy, that marks me as an old one.
You should get transitions.
Yeah, no kidding. My wife has deemed that a no-go zone.
She's a smart lady.
Yeah, there's Petrich. He's going to scramble to his left and throws a stripe out of bounds.
Well, that's the mark of an experienced quarterback. We said he started some games as a sophomore, did not play really as a junior. Here he's a senior. He's a savvy veteran now. He knows there's nothing going on. There's nothing I can do on this play. Just gets rid of it. He knows it's out of the tackle box. Instead of trying to make a run for it and getting tackled for a run attempt behind line of scrimmage, he just lets it go and live to fight another day.
And he picked a side. There's literally nobody there. I mean, I don't know if Carleton was in. They might have been in man on defense right there. But there's nobody covering the Scots on that side of the field. And no Scots on that side of the field, hence the throw out of bounds. 4 wideouts for the Scots. Beatty's in the slot far side. He's the guy to watch on plays like this when the Scots need a big one. 2nd and 10, and they're going to hand it off up the middle. Steffen's got some room and gets dragged down by the last player on the near side. And then for Carleton, that's number 23.
7 yards down the play.
And a player for Carleton, Eric McGregor, has made several big plays. He was the one that pulled Johnny Knee down on the kickoff, the second kickoff. The knee returned for a good distance.
You want, obviously, your safeties to make be in on a lot of action, but it's not a great sign when your safety has to make those types of plays a lot of the game. It means that there's just too much yardage being gained before they're there making the tackle.
Yeah, that's a great point. You know, the Scots have had good defenses the last 5-6 years. Solid defenses, I'd say, not overwhelming. But one of the big strengths for them has been the defensive back rotations that they've been able to play through. And so, you know, they had guys like Joel Miller that were at safety, David Melms, and some of the other players on the defensive backside. They really have been able to do some man-to-man on the boundary and some things. Now they're having to transition a little bit. They don't have quite the individual contributors at times there. And so now Marshall's having to coach a little bit more, you know.
This is rapport.
Yeah.
You see that shiftiness. You know, he gets through the line, makes the guy miss, and he's fast and shifty. It's like Don could be a great example because this guy's significantly better than Rapport, but it's like a Darren Sproles kind of guy. He's fast, he's shifty, he's agile. He doesn't get the ball in every single play, but when he gets it, he has a chance to make some special things happen.
Well, I was just going to say, the thing that I was about to comment on as he was making that run is he outran his blockers.
Yeah.
I mean, that tells you how fast he is, that he's literally outrunning the guys trying to stay in front of him from his side.
And he's not a little guy either. He's 5'8", 158, so, you know, he's not a tiny guy, but he's definitely a change from Steffen as far as, you know, speed.
So Scott's right in front of us on the 50, 2nd and 1 to go. 11:29 left in this third quarter. Play action. Petrich looking way downfield. There's the heave. He's got a receiver open. And touchdown for the Scots. Beatty with the catch. And he'll notch another in his belt. That's now 20 touchdowns on his career.
That was a beautiful throw from Petrich. Sold the play action beautifully. Beatty gets behind the defense. And I'll tell you what, Petrich just threw a strike, and his night just keeps getting better. That young man's got to feel really good about himself and what he's been able to do at the quarterback position tonight. You know, Coach Davies has to just be tickled right now with how well his quarterback has played tonight. And what can you say, Beatty? Big players make big plays, right? And here he is getting behind the defense on the first possession of the second half, cashing in on a huge reception.
Yeah, I mean, Josh, I think you said it, that you know, that was a heck of a throw. I mean, boy, Petrich put that right on target. That Beatty barely broke stride down the middle, and that's you know, Petrich was stepping up. I mean, that clock in his head has to be spinning a little bit about you know, how much time he's got in the pocket, and he hung in there a little longer than normal to make that throw.
You know, Petrich has a lot of fans back home. I know who may be listening. When I talked to Coach Jennison, he told me the story about recruiting Petrich, and you know, he's from a town, Lansing, Illinois, in southern Illinois, and when he showed up, everybody referred to Petrich as our Cody, and that's from the school administrators to, you know, the secretaries in the office and everything, and just a well-liked kid, does things very well. He's a first-class, you know, student and person, so it's really nice to see a guy like that have success like he's having tonight. And I go back again to what he's gone through and how he's gotten here, you know, playing as a sophomore and starting some games as a quarterback and then not as a junior. Some guys would mail it in and figure that, you know, their time has passed, but here he is. He's continued to develop, gotten better, and here on night one of his senior campaign, he's lighting it up.
Yeah, you talk about that. Here's the kickoff by Chowsey, that kind of stick-to-itiveness, and I think We'll talk about this play for a little bit. A return for Carleton up the right side, and there Macalester is going to get that player down about the 24, the returner. I was asking Marshall, so who do you end up recruiting against? And this is a really big game. Macalester looks at this as a big game. I'm sure Carleton does too, not just for the book of knowledge, but this is a team that comes up in the recruiting conversations a lot. Somebody of the academic profile that's going to be looking at a Macalester is going to look at Carleton and vice versa from a sports perspective. So I was asking Marshall, why would guys come, or Coach Mullenbach, as others may know him, why would guys come to Macalester? And he was saying a lot of it is it's a personality about the team and some things. And so, Cody probably likely sees this as, I'm going to keep working because the guys I'm with are going to keep working, right? And that's why I keep putting that effort in.
And I also talked to Coach Jennison about that, and he's really big on the health of his players, and that goes way beyond their physical health in the football field, but their mental health and their well-being at school, and he's really interested in the overall player. How are they doing in school? How are they doing in their social life and their relationships and their development as people? How are they doing on the football field? And it's not X's and O's to him. It's not guys showing up and we're working on football all the time, but it's guys showing up and we're developing student athletes and we're developing people who are going to go out and change the world, which is what Macalester students, what Macalester's trying to do anyway. And so it doesn't get lost in the football program. We're still looking at the overall health of the players and making sure that we're putting out good people into the world. And if you have people who are focused on that, you're going to have competitive players.
And throw to the outside and a nice run after the catch. And the player for Carleton is still rumbling. And so, Josh, that, glad you've wrapped up your thought about good gentlemen out in the world. Coming back to something we talked about with the defense, that was where Macalester didn't get that kind of gang tackle mentality, and they did sort of fly to the ball, but they just couldn't quite get enough pause on the ball carrier to slow him down.
That was Metz again. He's had He's had some big plays today. And
was that 7 or 8 catches now for him?
Yeah.
Let's see. We can look at our stats from the first half. Yeah, that was 8 catches in the first half, so that was 9. And now we have another catch for what we believe is coach's son, Jernell. Tackled out of bounds. So Carleton, we'll see if they give them the sticks. I believe it's going to be 1st and goal. That is what it is. So markers drop. But I think, Josh, just to tie your point up about being citizens of the world, however else you want to look at it, as Jernell's tackled at 5. I think that's why Brian Rosenberg shows up to give them new jerseys, right? Brian is not concerned about a lot of the things that are happening in other programs. About conduct and some things. If anything, he's worried about having to do a press conference about the kids are out doing something really good, right? And that's why he shows up to do the new jerseys.
I think that's been over the past couple of years. There's been some players that have come off this football program who have been leaders in some of those issues that you mentioned that happen at other schools and other football teams that are unfortunate. And here you have Macalester students, football players taking the lead on it. Obviously, there was an article in the Star Tribune recently that was talking about what was happening at MAC and what some of the players were doing, and that's great stuff to see.
So Carleton is going to have 3rd down and goal to go. They got stuffed on the first couple. There's a drop back throw to the corner. Great defense by the Scots, but an even better catch by Carleton. Number 86 hauls in the pass, and I don't have an 86 on my roster, so I'm imagining something. But I trust there's an 86 out there.
Well,
so
he's out there.
Good touchdown throw, and that's going to pull Carleton to within 7 if this kick goes well for them.
And if you're on the Carleton sideline, you really love that. They answer really well to the big play that Macalester hit, and they took the ball down, had some big plays of their own. So they answered. So we had an entertaining first half of football. The second half has not disappointed. They've come out and played well so far.
So we had Josh and I were talking a little bit off air, and I was saying I asked the captains on Macalester to try a little experiment for me. I asked them to write a bio about another captain, so they were not allowed to write their own bio that we may be able to talk to at some point. So I did get some interesting info. Maybe over the next 24 minutes of game time, we'll get a chance to kind of go over these a little bit. But the guys did a great job of getting us some sort of inside info. Like I heard you got some stories from Coach Jennison as well. But some inside info and stuff that their mothers would feel proud if we talked about. So it couldn't be too terrible about them. But Alec Beatty wrote some nice stuff about Jeremy Steffen. But I think the really interesting thing is that it came up 4 times in this paragraph that I have on Jeremy, how hard of a worker he is, right? And so it says that he gets up early to work. And I think that's a fascinating thing. I was thinking we were always very afternoon-based for the workouts, but the early morning workout's a very football thing, it seems like. Oh, ball's out, and I think Macalester pounced on it. Macalester has the ball out to about the 34, assuming that they kept the recovery.
I think they caught the fumble.
And that squirted out pretty quick. But so I love this description of Jeremy. This is why I asked the guys to do this, is because when you have one of your players recognizing another for work ethic and also that he's had 2 ACL injuries and been able to come back from 2, and that's the kind of thing that drives him. I thought it was fascinating thing on Steffen. He's definitely the workhorse back for the Scots, right? I mean, he's the one who's out there for 80 or 90% of the plays offset from the quarterback. So that's a pretty great way to describe your workhorse, your bell cow out there is going to be a good worker. And it looks like we're going to get a timeout to Macalester. So we're going to take this with the teams, give us a little time to rest our voices for a minute. 8:18 left. Carleton just put a score on the board, 31-24 is the Macalester lead. Come back from our quick little timeout with the team. I hope that we're getting some view of the field. Mr. Strybeck showing some good dance moves, dancing a YMCA while he's on the field. That's a fun one. Josh and I were talking a little bit at halftime about. I was saying I'm a Twins fan. Josh is a converted Twins fan after liking the Cubs a little bit, and Josh, now you work for the Twins. You sort of really transition to be a Twins fan. And so it's really tough for me to admit that Francisco Lindor is one of the players I really like, but he seems to really enjoy playing baseball. I get the same sense out of Strybeck on the football field, right? So
coming to watch these games, it's entertainment, right? And then when you see the players having a fun time and having fun with it, it just makes it better. I mean, obviously everyone's competitive. These guys want to win, but but the game is fun for them, and it should be.
Yep.
They put in so much time in meetings and workouts and practices and things like that if it's not fun for you, you got to ask yourself, why are you doing it? And so it's fun to see those guys, dancing during the game and keeping that part alive, keeping the fun alive.
So Macalester with the ball on the 33. There's a handoff right side. Looks like an inside handoff to Strybeck, who we were just talking about, and he's got the ball ahead for a gain of 9 or 10. Now, if you're Petrich, that's where you got to be really strategic and make sure that's a slightly forward toss, right? So you get a completion and 9 more yards on it.
Yeah, Yeah, that's
right. This is like on the breakaway in basketball. You make sure you miss the first and get the putback. So the Scots have the ball, 2nd and 2 coming up on the 41. Scots with that kind of bunch formation, all their receivers relatively tight, and they put player in motion, Beatty down the seam, and he's got another long toss. And I think this that pass tells you just how good the last touchdown pass was to Beatty that he threw, because this pass wasn't in stride necessarily and caused him to slow down. But
if it is in stride, that's 6. That defensive back from the snap had no chance to stay with Beatty on that play, and the defensive back was a beneficiary of a ball that wasn't as good as the last one Petrich threw.
No, exactly. Well, I think that's Beatty a lot of the times is up on the line of scrimmage, and he does such a great job in those first couple steps getting some separation. And he's a fairly well-built individual across the chest when you meet him in person, see him without pads. So he's strong enough to get that separation.
Petrich.
Yep, a keeper, and he's got. Well, at least he held on to the ball. He was starting to try to extend the ball for the extra yard. I don't think he needed it necessarily.
I think that's a guy that doesn't run the ball a lot. He tried to extend the ball to the pylon from the 5.
He's tall, but he's not that tall. Now, speaking of tall, the Scots do have the very interesting one. I mean, Petrich is a fairly big boy. Was he listed like 6'3", something like that, right?
He's 6'3".
The backup quarterback for the Scots, though, comes in at a pretty towering
6'6".
6'6", and he seems even taller when you see him on the field.
Canadian fella.
Yeah. There's knee in motion again. This time, Petrich doesn't keep it. I think he's still getting some wind back as he hands it to Stefan up the middle. And you're going to have 2nd and goal coming up, 5 yards left.
What a drive here, too. You know, Mac scores in the first possession of the half. Carleton with a great drive. And Mac's got the ball right back down here inside the 10 after a big play for Beatty. And they're knocking on the door here to get those 7 points back.
And this is, I think this is a switch that has been an interesting one in football now. When you get these teams that go spread, they don't clog up when they get inside the 10. I mean,
they spread it even more.
There's no elephant formation for these guys. You know, they're widening it out more, as you said. Petrich drops back. He's looking right, and just off the hands of his receiver over the middle. Might have had a chance to push that one in if he'd been able to fall in the end zone if he catches that.
That's some pretty good coverage by Travis Brown, the sophomore defensive back for Carleton. One of the few local kids in this game out of St. Michael, Albertville.
Yeah, STMA up towards my neck of the woods where I live, and that's seems to be a fairly good football program. I've read a bit about them being pretty strong.
They have pretty good athletics. They're a gigantic district. They have a lot of kids that they can pick from. But, yeah, they've got some really good athletic programs there.
Strybeck in motion, left or right. I'll have to see the Scots throw right side. That's where there's a little imbalance. There's Petrich rolls. Oh, and just wide of Beatty. Beatty, a good effort, leaving his feet to try to catch the ball. And that's going to lead to a Chauncey field goal attempt. So now this was something I got a second to take a look at on the sideline. I'm pretty sure it didn't make the frame of the picture as it's back towards midfield. But Chauncey was, a lot of times the kickers are going to warm up with the ball in the net and actually kicking live. And Chauncey was down here doing kind of a mental prep drill. It looked like going through the steps without the football in order to kick it. And I thought that was a really interesting prep to what he's going to go do out here. You don't always need, this mental visualization is a big deal. A little bit of a tough snap. There's the hold, and it's good. So that mental prep worked.
Well, you want to see the Scots put it in for 6 there, but at this point in the way the game is going, anytime you can put points on the board when you have the football, it's going to be, obviously it's a big deal, but it's not necessarily worth the risk to go for 6 there when you have a pretty good kicker that can get you 3.
Hey, you talked about the kicking game, Josh. The Scots really had a sort of leap forward on the kicking game when Jimenez was kicking for the Scots. And Scots had a kicker drop into campus who was a very good cross-country runner, and then also having to kick for the football team. And I mean, Auburn Jimenez was one of the best, probably the best kicker I ever saw on the fields. I mean, it was up there with some of the guys we've seen from the big programs like Monmouth and some other places. And since then, and Auburn's been a little bit involved in doing some of the coaching with the kickers and stuff, but the Scots have had relatively good special teams in kicking since then. And I think that's been a big plus. When you have evenly matched teams like Carleton and Macalester, relatively evenly matched, the kicking thing can make such a difference. If you can just get 5 more yards out from the end zone that you can kick from, it makes such a difference at this level.
Special teams are called. I don't know why they're called special teams, but they're a special part of the game, and sometimes they cause the game to swing in different ways, whether it's negative or positive for you. And we've seen both of those things happen here for both of these teams. They've had pretty good kicking going on, and a botched snap for Carleton took 3 points off the board for them. But you're right, having a kicker can really help.
So the Scots will come out on defense after the field goal. 34-24, the Scots lead, 5:25 left. One of the other great stories, and this comes again back to something the Scots call out about each other, is the work ethic. So Ben Lewis is one of the players we talked about early. He's a defensive lineman for the Scots, and the description that we had heard about from him was that he came in as an outside linebacker and got asked to transition to the defensive line, put on 70 pounds of muscle through his time at Macalester. And I think that's a really underrated thing. If you're parents of a college player, just about any sport, the transition that bodies go through from coming in as a freshman to out as a senior can at times be dramatic, and that's the kind of thing you see where it's a really dramatic shift. But the description was subscribing to Costco, GNC, and Culver's for protein powder, creatine, and custard. And that was one of the best quotes I think I've seen in a long time.
That'll do it.
And especially being that he stayed loyal to his home state Costco as opposed to going to Sam's Club. I think that's a huge plus, being that he's up by Costco's headquarters.
Only you would know the Costco headquarters.
Kirkland, Washington. That's what their house brand is named after, the city that their headquarters is located in.
Every time I hang out with you, I learn something new. Today I happened to learn that Costco is in Kirkland, Washington.
Kirkland, Washington. That's right. So Kirkland's signature of the brand is...
So you're telling me when I'm crushing those Kirkland cupcakes that it's named after that town?
That is it. Although there is a Kirkland home store that's it's a little bit out of my price range for shopping, but there's a Kirkland home store that is not Costco.
Okay.
I think that's a little confusing. But yeah, it's... We drove through there. It's a pretty nondescript looking headquarters. We were on our way from Seattle north up to a town up by the border where my uncle lives, and it's a nice area. But yes, so Ben Lewis, a Seattle person, Seattle Prep High School.
Prep Panthers.
There you go. And we had a baseball player we played with that was from there. So it's certainly one of the high schools we have heard of. And you got a tackle made. Number 55 for the Scots in with a nice solo tackle, Josh Bartz, junior linebacker. So I would imagine if you were to talk to Coach Jennison, or if you were to get the sort of coach's commentary over this webcast, I don't totally want to know what he says about our quality of commentating, but I think when we talk about who is making plays for the Scots, it's a lot of juniors and seniors. And it's a great sign of where the program maturity is coming around to, that you have guys who have grown up, maybe haven't played as much. Oh, my, what a catch.
That was really impressive.
A great haul-in by...
It's probably Metz.
Yeah, it is. It is Metz. And that was the one-hand tip drill. And I think it's almost like he corralled a rebound over a Scot. It was a great play. But I was just about to say, I mean, guys who have probably grown up, haven't necessarily played freshman and sophomore year and have grown into playing junior and senior. That's a great place to be, because they're likely playing behind other guys that have grown in that process.
I think it shows the overall health of the program when you don't have to rely on freshmen to come in and make an immediate impact. Every now and then you're going to have that special player, but you don't want to count on that. You don't want to count on the freshmen to come in and contribute right away, because I think, going back to the Ben Lewis story, the gentleman puts on 70 pounds, right? So some of these guys are coming from high schools where maybe they have decent weight programs and strength and conditioning programs, but then they get here to a college one and they've got to get stronger and bigger, and that takes time. So they're usually not ready to contribute as freshmen to the football team, and so it's good when you have juniors and seniors who are the ones leading the way.
The other comment about Lewis that was fascinating to me, and here goes Carleton with the punt after the incomplete pass on third down. There's the kick, and he's going to have a chance at a return. As he gets
this
the
kid's
ball.
impressive.
Yeah, about
I have been
15-yard
very
return.
impressed,
Yep.
with the ability that Johnny has when he has the football and he has some space. And he's shifty and fast and agile and can really make a lot of guys miss. There was no reason why he should have got about 9 yards there. I mean, probably should have maybe a 3-yard return, but he makes the guy miss, and he does some special things.
I was going to say the other classic line on Lewis was, I guess that talked a little bit about, I guess he's got the Macalester record for cleans in terms of the strength testing now, but then he also, as part of some of the testing they were doing with a medicine ball, threw it through Patrick Haley's hands and broke his nose.
Oh, jeez.
Which I'm sure, now Patrick didn't write this, so I don't know how fondly it's looked upon, but certainly the other teammates remember that one. And there's a handoff. That's the second time we've seen Bresson get that ball, and instead of trying to go around the outside, make the cut up the middle.
Sometimes those holes aren't open for long, so when you see them, you got to hit them because they'll close up fast on that defensive line.
And so both Carleton and Macalester are running some of these sort of what you would generally associate with speed game type runs, right? Where you have these end arounds, or Carleton's flipping the quick screens out to the receivers. That's a play I used to associate with teams like Florida State from the D1, where they just had better athletes and they were going to toss it out to. But this is a mainstream part of football now, running those type of routes.
Those types of programs have changed it, have made teams realize how much an advantage they can have by running more spread type plays and getting the ball out on the periphery. So you're right, it's changed. I mean, teams aren't lining up in the I formation anymore on 1st and 10 from the 30-yard line and trying to bowl people over. They're going to spread it out and see if their athletes can do some special stuff with the football.
And almost every team we see at the D3 level is going to run this. I mean, and that is the one oddity, which 30 years ago would have been completely flipped. But Ripon is still running a wishbone, and it's a very strange thing, and it's a hard thing to prepare for. I think Macalester's going to take a timeout as the play clock was down to 2.
Timeout, Macalester.
Well, especially hard this year now, or in the current times, because nobody else runs it. So
your scout team's in trouble.
Yeah.
Your scout team is learning an entirely new offense. I would parallel that to. I had a little bit of time playing JV basketball at Macalester and running scout team offense against our defense sometimes. And St. John's in the MIAC conference would run this flex offense that it was a throwback offense to the 70s and 80s basketball teams. They had a coach that had been there, I think when he finally retired, was 46 years or something coaching. Jim Smith was there forever. And he ran this flex offense. And so your scout team had to learn this one pattern offense that was used to grind people into a pulp in the key. And it was the same thing as running the wishbone, right? And it's the one team that runs this wildly different system than everybody else. People run flex concepts in basketball, but not a full offense like that. And so, Macalester's going to have to be ready for that game and something different.
Yeah,
but I do think what they're doing now, it used to be the strange thing for teams.
It
with
was.
These speed pieces. And there's a play fake. Looks like a bit of a busted play. And
that was blown up by the defense. That was great penetration. Had all options covered, and Petrich had nowhere to go.
And so now two drives in a row, we've seen Petrich do fairly mature plays, right? We saw him throw the ball away last offensive series, and this time simply hold on to the ball, right? So he had 2 of his skill position players back there with him, and instead of trying to flip the ball into something that they hadn't practiced, just simply ate it.
Yeah, and that doesn't get recorded in the stat books, or that doesn't get.
Well, it does. It's a -5 for Petrich.
All right.
Right. But like you're saying, there's no smart plays tally that he gets tacked onto him. Petrich had backside pursuit, and you're going to have a penalty. That was Bresson downfield.
Going to be on the defense. That was a wildly underthrown, or a well underthrown ball by Petrich, but Bresson made the. He came back to. What was that? Was that knee? No,
I think it was Bresson 4.
You're right. Well, the Carleton faithful doesn't like it, but Macalester fans are pretty excited.
Yeah, it did look a bit like a jump ball, but I do think in that, this is sort of if tie goes to the runner in baseball, right, in deference goes to the receiver in football a lot of the time on those types of jump ball plays. So that's a big penalty. That'll reset the Scots to 1st and 10. They're on the Carleton 26, and now within scoring threat. And what had been kind of a choppy first quarter of play, now in the third quarter has turned into these longer arcs of possession. And Carleton's got to be watching the clock now. I mean, that's a bigger enemy than the Scots to some extent. Stefan dances around, breaks a couple tackles, and turns about a 2-yard loss into a 4-yard gain.
Nice run by Stefan. And Scott's just got to keep making forward momentum here. I mean, it's a little early to think about the clock, but not too early. It certainly is not too early. It's a 2-score game, so Carleton's got to figure out how they're going to score twice. And if the Scots continue to take these long maintained drives in the second half, opportunities are going to become scarce for Carleton.
Petrich, Bresson in motion, left to right. He'll go all the way to the outside behind Beatty. Petrich takes a snap, rolls right. He's got some blocking ahead of him. He'll tuck the ball and run. It bounces off a couple of his blockers, bounces off a couple of defenders, and is ahead for a 15-yard gain. Boy, Petrich was breaking both Macalester and Carleton tackles on that scramble.
It seemed like he had Beatty open for just a flash, and that closed quickly. And again, I think his experience played well there. He knew not to throw that ball and just kind of tuck and see what he could get.
A little bit of a counter play to Stefan. Stefan's got some room on the outside. One tackle to break.
That's going to be a horse collar tackle. That's going to be a half the distance and an automatic first down.
Stefan trying to use a change of pace to break the tackle on that play, and that's essentially what lined up the horse collar, was the fact that a little hesitation and burst got him to the outside of the defender. It's going to be 1st and goal for the Scots. Looks like that's going to be set up on about the 2.5 yard line. So almost exactly a 2-point try coming up for the Scots. But they have 4 chances at it. Scots are also nearly able to bleed out the clock. They've got a little bit of time difference between the game and
they'll have to run one more play
clock,
before
so
the
they're going to have to run it. Yep. They're down to 5 on the play clock. And they're just able to get the play off. That's one thing you take for granted on the national broadcast, is that thing gets under 10 and it all of a sudden flips up into your view. Here you have to tuck yourself around to find the play clock down on the field level.
Yeah, they got all the advantages.
Yeah, oh, man, virtual augmented reality is coming soon to your Macalester webcast. 34-24, Mac with the lead at the end of 3 quarters of football. They're going to have the ball inside of the 5-yard line with 3 more chances to score. And actually now at the 7 after the loss. 3 chances to punch it in and try to extend the lead. 15 minutes of football left for the Book of Knowledge between the Scots and Carleton. And so the teams will flip sides of the field. It's going to be the Scots in the orange jerseys now going left to right on your screen. Carleton, the white jerseys, going right to left. Carleton trying to dig their heels in against Macalester's drive. Macalester has the ball, 2nd and goal from the 8-yard line. Loss of 4 on the previous running play. And Petrich and Stefan in pistol formation right now. Only a single safety high, good passing position. Petrich steps back. There's the pass across the middle. Strybek for the touchdown.
That's five touchdowns on the night now for Petrich, excuse me.
And as you said, again, this pass, Josh, really nice touch. I mean, that hit Strybek right in stride, and had this been somewhat towards the middle of the field, Strybek would have been off to the races. I mean, that was right in stride on the numbers, right between the number ones.
You just got to be happy for that young man to be playing as well as he is tonight here in prime time in the Book of Knowledge game, and all these fans here to see him. It's been fun.
So that was an interesting changeup of a kick. And Chowsey still goes through the uprights. That extends the Scots lead to 41-24, and this becomes a very do-or-die possession just seconds into the fourth quarter for Carleton.
Yeah, they're going to have, I mean, they're running out of opportunities here with the fourth quarter just starting, and Macalester, both of their drives, it seems, or their scoring drives here in the second half have been methodical drives, have taken time off the clock.
Yeah, I would very much expect Carleton to try to replicate the first drive that they had. Certainly was successful and got a touchdown. So, I mean, I know that they're trying to do that, but more to the tempo and the pace. I mean, they were snapping the ball after only 10 seconds of being set. They were flinging the ball outside for quick completions. They have to try to replicate that in order to score in the time they need. I mean, they've got to get 3 scores on the board in order to get back in the ball game. And we're not even talking about holding the Scots. And the Scots try a bit of a pooch. And the ball's going to go out of bounds. And that's going to leave Carleton with a very good field position.
As well as Chaussee has kicked in field goal opportunities, he's struggled on kickoffs a little bit. I mean, he's got a couple out of bounds, or 3 out of bounds now.
Yeah, it seems like, and I don't know if this is I don't know if this is the difference between strategy and tactics going on here. Are the Scots trying to do something different with kickoffs, or is this, trying to figure out how we work with the new rules to see if we can get teams to not try to advance it past the 25? I'm not sure exactly what's happening with that. But like you said, it's a good thing this is a preseason game, and there's other things you can hang your hat on. Chessie's going to go home and hopefully remember the field goals and not the kickoffs. But I'm sure once Monday begins the next practice cycle before the Hamlin game, they're going to
kicking coach is going to be all over him.
Be looking at that, yeah, exactly. There's the snap. Carleton drops back. There's a throw downfield. Nice catch. And that's the difference between where that's the type of thing where Petrich has been so strong today for Macalester. He's been able to really hit his receivers in stride. That one, the Carleton receiver made a heck of a catch.
They've had to make some pretty acrobatic catches. So
the one last drive was one of the best I've seen. Metz tipped the ball to himself.
The accuracy from the Carleton quarterback this second half has not been as crisp as the first half.
So the teams will gather together for a minute. We had a little bit of a medical stop on the Carleton side. That it's one of those things you hear emphasized a lot, and the types of things the training staff gets you used to. I'm sure in high school you do a lot of 2-a-days, and there's probably they talk water and stuff. But I'm amazed at the nutrition, the hydration, things like that get emphasized at the college level. There's now nutritionist that meets with the teams. That was definitely not something that was occurring when we were around for it. They have dedicated strength person.
If it was happening, I missed all of those days.
Yeah, same here.
I never got the memo to those meetings.
Same here. We had a great cafeteria. I just hoped what they were feeding me was good stuff. So it's amazing the resources that come with playing playing college football, playing college sports in general at a school. So it was incredible to hear about all the resources available to them. But the hydration thing, hot sticky night like this, you've been doing 2-a-days. That's a big deal.
Yeah, you got to stay hydrated, you got to stay healthy, all of those things.
There's another great catch by Carleton on the sideline. They're going to say, yep, whistled and catch. Another 15-yard gain, and Metz with another catch. We mentioned this name when we were talking about tackles, but Patrick Haley, one of the leaders for the Scots on defense. I thought a classic quote about him that he speaks 2 languages, English and organic chemistry, which I happen to marry a Macalester chem major. That is a weird and odd and very different language than any of the rest of us speak. So I thought that was a heck of a thing. But he's going to graduate early, a pre-med person. The amount of work that I saw some of the folks that were pre-med in our time put in is incredible. And that is a grueling preparatory thing that people do. And so being able to balance that in sports is incredible.
That's what is so impressive about the Macalester student athletes. I mean, they have a 3. Their GPA last year was tremendous, and
I think we had a 3.3 GPA overall as a team. Which that's pretty darn good.
Looks like for the past about 4 or 5 years, we've had a 3.3, and 85% of the team were over a 3.0 last year, and that is hard to do when you spend as much time as these guys do training and preparing for football games and still hitting the books. And the majors are difficult. We're not underwater basket weaving, getting 3 threes in that. I mean, we're
the only class of that is racquetball with Coach Barrington.
That was a hard class, man.
Screen pass to the outside, and Scott's had it covered well, and that happens to slow down some of the momentum Carleton's showing. They're down to 2nd and 10 on the Scott's 15-yard line. Carleton trying to tighten up the score, Mac, with a 41-24 lead, and 13 and a half left in the fourth quarter. And again, Patrick Haley, another one, as I was getting some description of him from Ben Lewis. Another guy, he put on 50 pounds on his time at Macalester. So just another body's undergone incredible transformation. They chalk that up to Chipotle, not any kind of subscriptions.
That's a big quarterback sack. That's the first sack of the night.
Yep.
They've been very limited tonight. Both quarterbacks have stayed fairly clean when they drop back to pass. Big time sack right there. Kills a lot of momentum. It's going to put this thing at 3rd and 15. The defense steps up to make a great play.
3rd and 15, as we said, that a 37-yard field goal. That's not a gimme by any means.
Well, in Carleton's, I mean, they're going to need to be trying to get 6s, not 3s.
And there's pass over the middle. And Macalester, there's the gang tackle that Macalester needed.
Short.
Yep, and stops him just short. I mean, that is literally about a yard shy. I would expect Carleton to go for this.
Yeah, they got to go for this. When it comes down to it, if you can't get a yard, I don't know how you're going to get 17 points if you can't get a yard here at this spot. Here we go. Big 4th and 1.
Now it looks like we're going to get a timeout, Macalester. I think that's a nice timeout call by Macalester to make sure you have time to play on this. I always think that in these types of situations, especially if you're a team that's used to any kind of a hurry-up, that you have an advantage by trying to make the game go faster in this because you have an idea what's going on, and the defense is to some extent reacting to the package and the formation and things. So Macalester, nice job to slow it down. Let's just make sure it's going at the pace we want.
They want to see what kind of formation Carleton comes out in, and if it's something that they just don't think that they're quite matched up for it, they want to take the time out and get into something that they're better matched for.
So I was. Let me just wrap up a little bit. The Alec Beatty description written by Mr. Haley on here was, I think a pretty good one. He's the son of a Carleton alum. So, obviously has some pedigree for this game going back, or a little bit of some knowledge of the game. But I think the great one in here is that one of his proudest moments was the 5th prestige in Call of Duty. So he's obviously got his off-field priorities in line, playing some video games. And here's the play for Carleton. They've got a 4th and 1 to go. They can still get a first down, getting over the 5. And it'll be interesting to see what we get the call.
A free one, I think. Whoa.
Ooh, and Carleton moves first. That is painful. That's going to be 4th and 6 now for Carleton. And that's always a toss-up, Josh. That's always been one that you never know when they blow that one, whether it's going to be offsides, encroachment, whatever that call is, or it's going to be the false start from the other side.
I would have chalked that one up to the crowd noise. I just don't think you hear the snap count.
Exactly.
I got a little nervous.
Exactly. 4th and 6, big play for both teams. Crowd gets into it. There's the throw to the cornerback shoulder, and touchdown for Carleton. Nice throw to the backside.
Receiver got it with a little push on that one to create just enough separation between him and the defender to haul that one in. But it's not called, so it's 6 points for Carleton.
That's Mel's again. Or Metz, excuse me.
He's had quite the night.
Yeah, he has. Quantity and quality of plays have been very high for him. Here's the extra point. This is a fairly big one. They're Carleton down 11 until this kick goes up.
That was nearly blocked.
Yep. Now down 10. So now I would imagine that we see Macalester in milk mode a little bit. Might see a little more Stephen than we've seen on the rest of the drives. You can't totally box it in. I get that, but I think if you're Macalester, you've got to keep stretching these drives and limiting the number of times the ball changes hands.
Certainly, I think it's going to be. I'm curious to see how Coach Davies calls this next possession and what kind of mix they go with. Or maybe Johnny Nee will just return a kick for a touchdown.
Yeah, don't even go on offense, right?
Yeah.
The best offense is no offense. And this is a like I said, I didn't see Nee return that many kicks last year, and I think there's some aspect of some game plan scheming that goes into that, but it'll be interesting to see what happens, because I think it's the type of thing you can pick up on film, that he's getting Macalester an extra 10, 15 yards per touch on top of where they would normally be.
Yeah, it makes a difference when it all adds up.
And so Carleton tees the ball up. Here's the kick. End over end down the middle, and Neal catch the ball. And he goes ahead left side, has a hole, which closes quickly. But again, now he's at the 34-yard line. That's another 9 yards on top of your average spot. So good place for him to be.
Well, there comes the offense, and we're going to get our answer now. And what kind of
happen?
Series Davies is going to be calling here.
Pistol formation with Stephen. And Scots are very nearly on a delay of game. They snapped it at 1. And so it's something about coming out after these kickoffs that's winding it down. They've had at least one delay of game on that, and they've been very close.
Carleton the same way. Maybe it's a first game thing.
There is
some stuff that we got to clean up.
Yeah, there is something after touchdowns that I know Marshall said they were doing something different with the clock. I was asking if they were trying to change anything. College doesn't necessarily suffer from some of the same pace of play that's going on in pro sports with football, with baseball, with things like that. But I was kind of wondering if they were tinkering with the clock play at all. But he said that's the only thing. Anyway, down to 5 now, and I can see why they're doing this with the clock running at this point. There's Steffen up the middle. And some good blocking right side. And this is the group of folks that we don't talk about nearly enough for Macalester.
The big guys, the
Yep.
big uglies.
Greg Lopez, Steven Szymanski on the right side.
Those are the big fellas.
And those are, it's not necessarily the glamour position, and it's not always easy to see. And especially for somebody like me that is not I didn't really play much football. The line is an intricacy and a delicacy in football that I don't partake in very much. I just don't see it as well. But the guys do a great job. I do know that the left side of the Macalester line is something that Macalester has called out as a strength for them. A little more seasoned folks on that side of the line.
That's going to be a first down.
Yep, and Steffen runs that left side and gets the first down for the Scots.
Are getting it done right now. On that left side, Kerrigan Miller and Kelvin Thomas are open up the holes on that side. You got Carter Gale as the center, and you called out Lopez and Szymanski on the right side of things.
So Macalester out of the ball just a nose shy of midfield. And one of the big changes is now the Scots have the shield logo on midfield. Goes in with the brand. Petrich signaling to Steffen. That play fakes the wrong side. And Petrich takes off and has a nice gain. He'll go feet first. That would have been a red card in soccer as he went spikes up into the defender. But keeps the clock rolling. And a nice gain, 6 yards, 7 yards on the play. 9:16 and the clock winding left fourth quarter. Scots ahead by 10.
I feel like an NFL guy calling a Peyton Manning game to just keep talking about. I keep talking about Petrich because he just continues to be so impressive in this game with his decision making.
One thing I haven't heard you say, Josh, is Omaha. Broncos fan in you. There's a little shovel pass, and again forward, right? So
right,
he keeps
going to get a reception
keeps
there.
the yards, and Strybeck gets the reception and the stays in bounds. Nice forward dive by Strybeck. Keeps himself in bounds, and a first down for the Scots. I think Carleton's looking a little bit tired on this drive. This is the first time we've seen their defense fatigue like this, but the Scots are just looking a good bit more crisp than Carleton, and they're staying on the blocks longer and opening up some holes.
Yeah, the guys up front have these the defensive linemen on skids a little bit and just kind of pushing them around, and that happens towards the end of a game, and that's why you want depth to be able to get in on the defensive line and keep rotating guys.
There's Steffen run left side. Nice. Just as we say that, Carleton gets penetration through the line and a tackle for a loss. So that's a loss of 3 or 2.5 on the play, and it'll be 2nd and 12 to go. Scott's behind the sticks now.
Nice shot by 33 there, Aaron Prentice, to knife in from his linebacker position and get that good penetration to stop Steffen.
Scots will get themselves set. Coming down on 5 seconds left on the play clock. Steffen set next to Petrich. Petrich draws back, looks right side, and good blocking for the Scots. Petrich's got running lane up the middle, and he's going to get down, but he got down late. And Carleton had a chance to take a lick at him. He probably needs to get his rear end down on the turf about 3 or 4 steps earlier.
Key block right there by number 61, Steven Szymanski, who had his guy stood up and pass block, and then when he saw Petrich take off, he threw a key one there that sprung that run wide open. I always like to throw those guys' names out there when you see them do a block like that, because you're right. They don't get talked about enough unless they're doing a bad job. You talk about the offensive line when they're struggling, but they don't get called out often enough when they're playing well.
No, and I think something you said earlier, I mean, some of the guys pull, right? And so when they get themselves out away from the line of scrimmage, you'll call them out because they're leading someone. Wow. Pass to Beatty, corner of the end zone. Third touchdown of the night for Beatty. And I am still trying to figure out Beatty doing some dance moves on the side. Still trying to figure out, boy, Beatty's got that after he scores, which we've seen a couple times now. He gets that retreat like somebody who's hit a walk-off single in baseball where he's about to get pounded by his teammates.
Yeah, he takes off.
Yeah,
doesn't want to get pounded.
No. So Beatty's got this takeoff thing going. And, hopefully we see this a heck of a lot more on the season for the Scots. But
I'm curious about this penalty.
Yeah, and that would be Beatty's celebration that he had. I'm sure that'll get we maybe we'll not be seeing the sprint away like that.
I don't understand that one. I think it's there's no reason to throw a flag on that. These guys are having a fun time.
Yep.
There wasn't anything unsportsmanlike about that. He was over here celebrating with his teammates after a really cool play. It wasn't unsportsmanlike. It wasn't any of those things. But nonetheless, they'll be kicking from farther back.
Yeah. Yeah, Chelsey's really going to have to hump up on this kickoff.
What is that, 6 touchdown passes now for Petrich?
Yeah.
3 of which are to his main target, Beatty. Just a great night for both those guys to open up their senior campaign here under the lights and get this season rolling. And just coming out just blazing.
Yeah, I mean, if you're watching tape of the Scots offense, you've had a couple nice field goals from Chelsea, and you've had the aerial attack has been in full display. I don't know that the running game is going to scare anybody. It hasn't been until late in this fourth quarter that they've turned the running game on a little bit. But aerial attack has certainly been pretty good.
Well, anytime you got a guy like Alec Beatty, he can make things happen. Petrich has hit him, like I said, 3 times, but he's really made things happen by running crisp routes, getting behind the defense. Right there, that defender really, Beatty had 4 steps on him, and it seems like every time he's caught a touchdown pass, he's been, 4 steps behind a guy. So he's really shown why he's a special player and why Coach Jennison holds him in such high regard, and why this team looks to him for leadership as the guy that helps carry them.
So Macalester, Chelsea will tee the ball up at the 20-yard line. Deepest returners for Carleton are all the way back at the 20. So, Josh, does this ball go to the 35 if it goes out of bounds?
I'm not sure.
Because I'll tell you what, I'd almost kick it out of bounds here if that's the way it works. The return from Carleton, that ball will go all the way out to the 37, so they wouldn't have been that much farther. But I'll tell you what, that'd be interesting to see if that's what happens, or if they bump that up 15 yards because of
perhaps they would,
the kickoff spot. It feels like a Clark Boyson question, our resident rulebook expert of our group of Macalester alumni. 6:34 left. Macalester ahead by 17, 48-31 over Carleton. So the Scots, and I've been reticent to talk about this. Scots have retained the last 2 Book of Knowledge tilts, and this would be the 3rd time. The Scots have never held the Book of Knowledge for 3 times in a row. So I feel like as they try to hit an open slant down the middle, that may teach me not to say this, but the Scots are in good shape, provided the game continues its course, to hold on to the Book of Knowledge for 3 times in a row, which would be a first.
Scots are in great shape, and I think even should Carleton do something special here on this drive, the Scots offense is in such high gear right now, and for being this early, they're pretty fine-tuned, and they've got a tired defense on the other side. So I don't have a ton of concern if Carleton were to score here that the Scots wouldn't be able to answer it fairly quickly.
Nice completion for Carleton. They're going to hit number 3, which is Jernell over the middle. And again, if there's one thing, and we'd be a little more on Carleton's side for this discussion. I think the lack of getting Jernell the ball and after the first drive of the game has been something to hurt them a little bit. There's Jernell with the pass again. Scots have a couple players on defense break the ball up, including the safety, number 29, who came across to break up the play. I believe that's Mason Cone.
Carleton's going to be able to score some points this year with with Metz and Jernell. They've both proven to be, good players and have shown some things. There's concerns over their defense, I think, after tonight. They play a tough MIAC schedule, like we talked about, and their defense has not been great tonight.
And there's an interception for the Scots, and that'll get them a flag.
This one I understand a little bit more. You can't just chuck the football like that.
The referee matched the height of the football toss with the flag toss. So
the other one still burns me. I gotta let that go. But this one I understand a little more.
But that means I feel a little better about not jinxing the Scots too much, because the Scots snuffed out any kind of a momentum play for Carleton with that interception. Now the Scots can really grind away on offense if they want to, being up by 3 scores. I do have to put in my corrections so they don't go into to the SID Matt McLagan that I realized that Mason Cohn is from Charlotte, Vermont. I think I said Virginia earlier. I do know how to read abbreviations for states. I was educated here, and the degree from Macalester is hopefully not degraded too much by my lack of comprehension.
I'm embarrassed for you.
So I hope I'm not pulling down the value of these degrees for the parents who are paying all this money for the kids to go to school here. There's the snap, and new quarterback in for the Scots is Johnny Bice. He's got the keeper. Left side, stays in bounds, turtles as he gets close to the sideline, and he'll get the gain of 1. It'll be 2nd and 9. So 2nd and 9 coming up. So Petrich, they're probably icing his arm right now after 6 touchdowns. Good start of the year for him. And now Bice, the junior, gets a chance to get some throws in. Bice tucks, and he'll go down.
Didn't seem to have any interest in throwing that football. I'd be curious to see the Midwest Conference Offensive Player of the Week this week. There's 2 great candidates on this field tonight between Beatty and Petrich. Obviously, the other teams are playing this weekend too, but it's good. It's so nice to get the season off the way that those 2 have tonight, and just coming out of the gates, performing at such a high level.
Yeah, I think you're right. If it were, I think I heard this said about the Cleveland Indians with the MVP this year, right? The worst case scenario for them is they have 2 guys on their team that's good. Worst thing that could happen to Petrich and Beatty is that they're on the same team, right? And that they may be competing with each other for that honor tonight. Yep. Yeah. Because it is going to be very tough for anybody else, to compete with that with this kind of game.
And it's also nice to see Macalester come out and play so well against the MIAC team. Obviously they got to keep Carleton and Hamlin on their schedules. They don't play anybody else in that conference, but it's such a tough conference, and it's good to see that as things are progressing here, they may start the season with a win against a team from that conference, and then come back next week and play another one down the street against Hamlin for the paint bucket.
Yeah, and with those 2 trophy games that the Scots played last year was the first year, I think in a long time. I want to see what. Let's see if it says on here. So in the 20-year history of playing for both of those trophies, this was the first time that we've held both trophies at the same time. So they won both of the games last year. And so that's a great place to build on for them to try to keep building out this success within the football program, right? Can we do 2 years in a row of that? They're doing their part right now to make that possible.
This defense comes back out for hopefully another stop. But yeah, it'll be nice to going into the Midwest Conference schedule here in week 3. For the Scots to be playing well against some good teams, some good non-conference teams.
So Carleton will take over after the punt at the 45, and they've got a handoff and 1 player to beat, and they're going to have an extra 15 tacked onto the play for the horse collar.
I didn't see him get him by the collar, but obviously the referee was closer, the official was closer than we are up in the booth. I think he had him by the jersey.
Well, and that's and I just went off of it's kind of like the holding play, right? The key for selling the holding is the one arm goes up, and in this one it was the backward stumble. It seems like is the giveaway to it. I didn't see the collar get grabbed. I just saw the backward stumble and okay. So Carleton will line up 3 receivers near side, including Jurnell. There's a run to the right side, and nice job over the middle. On the move, and another little bunch of yards torn up. But see, the Macalester is doing a nice job keeping Goodman Jr. in bounds at the end of these plays, so Carleton's having to back up against a moving clock. Macalester with a 17-point lead, 48-31 over Carleton. 2:53 left, and that clock is continuing to wind. And there's Goodman with another run. Nice tackle by the Scots. Safety comes up, make the play. Again, inbounds and winding.
Yeah, Carleton's playing 2 opponents now, the defense and the clock.
There's a throw to the corner and another physical battle, and Carleton with the catch and the touchdown.
That's Metz.
Yeah, Metz. I mean, we'll have to see if Metz could be in line for the MIAC Offensive Player of the Week, right? I mean, he's going to have quite some great numbers at the end of this.
Yeah, and in today's game on the receiving end, we've been treated to 2 really good performances between Beatty and Metz, and it's been good to see for if you're a Carleton fan to see that guy doing well, and for Beatty to play so well tonight.
So, Josh, I do have to agree with you on the celebration penalty against the Scots. It was probably a little much on the flag. I do think that relaxing that at the NFL level has been one of the great things that they've done. And I understand maybe that level of production value probably doesn't belong in the college ranks for a lot of this, but
it goes back to the fun.
Yes, it's fun.
The fun.
Yeah.
It's these guys grind so many minutes of the game, and you don't even count practice and preparation. That let's have some fun when they do, things that warrant celebration. So yeah, I agree with you. I'm glad that that those penalties are kind of gone from the NFL. You got to draw the line somewhere, right? We're not going to have a full production of Hamilton after a guy scores a touchdown. You know what I mean? We're going to draw the line somewhere, but to do something fun, it's certainly.
So the hands team on for Macalester to try to see if they can snuff out a onside kick. I was going to say it led to, for those folks that are listening, especially out of state, last year that celebration in the NFL level led to one of the great debates that you're ever going to hear in Minnesota, one of the wonderful regional oddities here, which is both of us being transplants, probably going to weigh in on the wrong side, but the Vikings set up for a duck-duck-goose round after
it was an onside kick.
An onside, straight out of bounds, yeah. And so they did a little duck-duck-goose, and there were some replays on Twitter that sparked off a huge controversy because it's not called duck-duck-goose in Minnesota, it's duck-duck-gray duck.
Well, it depends on who you're talking to. I live in Minnesota, and I've been here for more than a decade, and it's duck-duck-goose.
It's duck-duck-goose. Yeah, I said the same thing, but and Kyle Rudolph is not a native Minnesotan, and he's the one who said it was duck-duck-goose. So it sparked off quite the regional discussion. But for those folks that are out of state, I would love to pull the Macalester folks and see what that says, because I think there's only a handful of native Minnesotans on the roster. And that is a very ingrained thing. I mean, the people who live here swear by duck, duck, gray duck, and the people who are from outside of the state originally swear against it. So anyway, just a little bit of local linguistics for you. That might be
linguistics. I didn't think we would talk about linguistics tonight on the broadcast.
I like I said, I have to redeem after my Vermont, Virginia thing. 2:31 left in the ball game. Scott's now on offense. And Petrich was back at quarterback. He's got the handoff. And that's going to be on that fly route to Rapport. The only thing Rapport did at the end was not stay in bounds. And I realized that Carleton's only down 10 right now, but you still want that clock going. And we're going to have a penalty. We're going to have a hold against Macalester. It's on number 5. It looks like that was Stefan, so Stefan must have been on the lead of that blocking.
Yeah, McAllister's spinning the wheels a little bit here on offense with the last drive when, Bice came in and instead of having Petrich in, and now shooting himself in the foot here with a 10-yard penalty. They're going to have to clean some of this stuff up here.
I mean, Macalester, we didn't really talk about it because we were talking about duck, duck, gray duck and stuff like that. But it's, coming up on 2 minutes left, the kick goes out of bounds and gives Macalester great field position. I mean, they have the ball at the 44. And there's a little flip inside to Strybeck again. He's got it forward, and Strybeck leans to get a gain of roughly about 10 yards on the play. I think 9. It's going to leave us at 3rd and 6, I believe. 2nd and 6. And 2nd and 6 after the holding penalty.
I'm not sure what Carleton's waiting for on their to start calling their 3 timeouts.
That's a great question. I was just looking
game.
I was just looking at that. Macalister's down to 1, but yeah, Carleton with 3. You expect them to call it certainly after this down, no matter what happens. There's knee in motion. Petrich shots back. And incomplete pass. Well, there you go, Josh. They saved one of them.
But it cost them
I was going to say
40 seconds.
Yes.
Almost right there. To have not called it after that play before. But
yep. 3rd and 6. It's a very high mountain to climb if you're in Carleton's shoes right now. But certainly, I mean, when you think about that 40 seconds, you cooked off 25% of the clock. If you had not, if you had been able to call the timeout, you would have saved 25% of the clock. That's quite a precious resource in terms of the time that's left. There's Strybeck, that inside toss. Several tacklers from Carleton in to make the tackle, and they're going to stop him about 2 yards shy. And so Macalester now 4th and 2.
They're going to go for it.
And Carleton will call the timeout. Just under 1 minute left, 59.7 seconds. So, and Josh, this is an interesting one. I know you get the discussion of the red zone, and then I know they started to add the maroon zone to this thing. It's almost like, with the way the kicking works at the Division III level, you almost need some different classifications of how this works, sort of about where you are and how that plays into the strategy piece of it.
Certainly.
So, just tying this into the types of people that we get to come coach at this level, I actually, we were both 2 years behind Marshall Mullenbach, or actually only 1 year behind Marshall, I should say, in school. No, 2 years. So Marshall was a math major like I was, and did his capstone paper, like his end of math, here I'm going to summarize everything I know, was based on, do I go for it on 4th down or not, and that decision making. So I know he's on the defensive side of the ball now, but I know Marshall has done some deep thinking and analytical thinking on exactly this type of situation, right? I mean, what do I do in these types of situations? So,
well, you have the opportunity to end the game with, instead of having your defense have to end it. I think going for it here is a fine choice.
And they could take they have a timeout. They could take the penalty.
Try to draw them off sides. It doesn't work. Call a timeout. I still think it's not a bad idea to go for it here. You get your 2 yards, the game's over. You don't even give them the ball.
Yep. Yeah, I think. It's an interesting move, and very much like you were saying, a kind of a calculated risk, right? I mean, you're forcing Carleton to do something they haven't done all game, which is cover the length of the field twice in under a minute. I mean, they just have not done that. You weigh that versus the chance to
end the game.
To end the game, yep. Yeah. And I always find that's. I don't know that teams on the pro level especially use video replay or their instant replay challenges the same way. Like when you consider what's on the other side of these replay things when you throw those challenges, they challenge some silly things at times because the payout at the end of that challenge is not always there. And same with baseball with video replay and anything where the coaches get to make the decision. It seems like kind of some silly stuff sometimes. Not something we have to worry about at this level, but same type of calculus that's being done by the coaches. And there goes Macalester to go deep. Johnny Nee. And he'll catch the ball on the 4-yard line is where they're going to mark him. And
that's going to end this game.
I say Petrich's arm is what has put multiple daggers into Carleton today, and it does it again. I think the only thing that was different about this was that it didn't end up with Beatty on the receiving end. Everything else has been quite the dagger.
That's what you love to see right here if you're a football coach, triple football fan. Victory formation. There's no better formation.
And that's a very good point, Josh. And I think the other funny thing is, like, I think you have to practice this if you're constantly in the shotgun.
Oh, yeah.
Right, to actually get the direct snap, because that's not something you practice very much when a team like Macalester is spread. So, upcoming for Macalester, near term, they will in 20 seconds claim the Book of Knowledge. In terms of their schedule, they'll be on the road for the next 2. They're going to have increasingly tough games coming up. They'll be at Hamlin, which is just up the street. 7 o'clock start for that one as well. I believe Hamlin will have a webcast for that if you guys want to tune in for that.
It won't be as good.
It won't.
But you'll get one.
I will leave you to criticize Mr. Verdugo's choice of webcasting. Then the Scots get a bye week, and then up comes Monmouth College. Monmouth, traditionally very tough opponent for the Midwest Conference. That's a 1 o'clock. It'll be a non-conference for the Midwest in the sense that it's not an in-division game for them. Then they'll be home on the 29th for Lake Forest. Josh, I think you and I are probably back for that one on the 29th against Lake Forest. That's, as we talked about, a 1 o'clock start.
Well, it's on my calendar, if
good.
The people who make the decisions in booking will have me back, I'd love to be back.
I was going to say, we are always on a series of one-game contracts. And as I say that, good feedback is always welcome to Matt McLagan. Critical feedback is always welcome.
Don't be mean.
Yeah, I was going to say, and I don't read Twitter. But thanks for joining us. Hey, great game today. As we said, we've put in a lot of pluses on Petrich's plate, a lot of pluses on Beatty's plate. Frankly, a nice win for the Scots overall, but the offense really was humming today, and the defense played well enough. And I'm sure there'll be things that Coach Mullenbach will tune up with that defense as they go. They're probably going to need to lean on them in some other games. And really over the last 3-4 years, the defense has been the place that's dug their heels in when they needed to and really been the keystone for the Scots, so I'm sure that will come back for them.
I think for me that the biggest takeaway is how impressive Alec Beatty is. He remains as advertised.
Yeah.
You get a great performance from Petrich, but to see Beatty in his dominance to start the season, that's fun to see.
Yep. All right, well, thanks so much for joining us. Encourage you to check out webcasts for the Hamlin and Monmouth games upcoming, and then join us September 29th against Lake Forest, 1 o'clock, in what will be a tough cross-division opponent for the Scots in the Midwest Conference. Scots 1-0, retaining the Book of Knowledge, on the hunt for the second trophy of the year next week against Hamlin.